On this Uriel. Hey everybody, you're tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Again, congratulations for being here early. And a big old congratulations to Chili Peen for the first comment of the day. I don't know how you do it, Chili. You might have the most first comment awards. But you did it again, buddy. Congratulations. All right, folks, we got a great show for you today. We're going to get started in just about almost exactly 1 minute. So if you're here early, go ahead and share the show. Post it on your social media. I don't know. Let people know. Put it on your Reddit forums and your yada yada. We got to let people know that we're going live, baby. So we would appreciate that very much. And as always, remember to follow us everywhere. You can find all those links at CanaryCry.Party. And while you're sharing the show, making posts about it all over the internet, remember to include CanaryCry.Party. And that's right. That'll lead everybody to all the links they could ever want or need to connect to the show. And remember, you can there's still time to become a producer of this episode, 376. And while you're at it, go ahead and stay hydrated. Buckle your seatbelts, folks, because we're about to get started. Let's do it.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is August 16th, 2021. This is episode 376. And today, ban Taliban. Razzle dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend, and welcome to another lovely episode of the podcast.
Yes, lots of exciting things going on over the weekend, Gonz, which is nice because, you know, of course, we like to follow the development of the pandemic and the WACCINE and all those fun things. But, of course, we're still going to do that on this episode. But we've got all sorts of other things to talk about as well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think? What do you want to start out with here?
Well, I do want to mention real quick as we wait for some people to come into the live stream here. I went to a local farm here and did some farming with the family. It was really kind of fun. Ooh. And it made me want to have a piece of land that I can farm off of and grow some vegetables.
Yeah, you know, that has been pretty heavily on my heart the past 2 days as well.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'm not sure if we have a big story on it today, but there was the earthquake in Haiti.
Yep.
Which is horrible as usual. I don't know what's going on over with earthquakes in Haiti, but I had an interesting situation where, ever since 2020, I've been being a little bit more up to date on my supplement usage. You know, you got to get your zinc and your vitamin C and your D and all sorts of other stuff I've thrown into the program. I also started taking like nighttime supplements, like sleep. Yeah, there's all sorts of fun stuff. I don't know, magnesium and theanine and all these sorts of things. But when you start taking these sleeping supplement things, you start having pretty serious dreams. Like the dream experience gets elevated. more vivid, longer dreams, easier to dream, remembering the dreams more. It's been a really interesting situation. But the night before the Haiti earthquake, I had a big earthquake dream.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I don't know. There you go. I might start recommending everybody take some sleeping supplements. I don't know if it's actually, the one thing I can say is that it ups the dream experience. I don't know if it's actually helping me sleep in any ways, but there you go. So yeah.
Maybe the dreamscape is simply merging with physical reality in a much more tangible way, and you're just tapping into the dreamverse there.
Yeah, I want to hesitate. I do hesitate to claim any sort of supernatural connection that other people don't already have. But it was very strange. Once in a while, you'll have particularly relevant dreams, and that was one of them. It was weird. I woke up. I was like, "Whoa, was there?" I was actually so affected by the earthquake dream, like I actually felt it. I don't know how that works, but I actually felt it, and I woke up in the morning and searched to see if there had been earthquakes in my area. You can if there was an earthquake in your area, you can search it and they'll let you know. And there was none in my area, but of course all the news about the Haiti earthquake was just coming out. So yeah, there you go.
Interesting. Yeah,
I know.
And as I was complaining to you before we started the show, inflation is smacking me in the face every single day, and it's getting worse and worse. So producers, you can step it up. That'd really be helpful. As my life is
we finally
circling
got
the drain.
Start begging, guys.
It's circling the drain.
All that complaining about my value for value rants, and look who's come crawling back.
It's funny because of my brother-in-law purchased a home, I don't know, a couple years ago now, and they're like, "Oh, it's up such and such percentage and all that," and I was like, "Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it's $15 a gallon to get gas."
Right.
And I just quashed their.
Yeah. It's pretty brutal, but it's pretty brutal in sneaky places. You see some of the analysis of the quote unquote inflation, which I think there's legitimate conversations to have about whether it's actual. I'm sorry
to cut you off. I think we have some spammers in the Twitch chat there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know what? They come in once in a while.
And they just drop and then leave.
Yeah. I don't know about this user, but yes, they kind of just troll Twitch, and they're like, "Want to become famous? Buy some followers." Yeah. I do not think you know what that word means.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, we'll see if it gets bad. But anyways, yeah, the pain that you're feeling, it's coming in sneaky ways. It's certain products at the grocery store, of course, gas, but you're in California, so gas is always
gas is ridiculous
horrendous
anyway.
There. Yeah. So, anyways,
All
there
right.
you go, folks. Even Gons is feeling the pain.
Yeah. Anyway, let's obviously you see the show art for today. It's Biden, hairy legs, and so we'll get into some hairy leg stuff here, but we got to start off with the weird time variant that people are pointing out.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
So, of course, there's the whole Taliban, Afghanistan story. But the real question, why is Moscow time wrong in this photo? Time difference between London and Moscow is only 2 hours. It hasn't been 3 hours since March, but according to a White House photo that they tweeted out of Biden in I don't know if it's the war room or what it is. He's by himself. He's staring at a screen. He's doing some kind of Zoom call with other world leaders. Yeah. And people are pointing out the time differences. There's some digital clocks above the screen there. And the issue of the time difference between Moscow and London being 3 hours instead of 2. Why? Why, Basil? Why?
That is interesting. I don't know.
Either this is an old photo that they're releasing as oh, he's on it right now with all the Afghanistan stuff.
Yeah. Did they do what is it called? Time variance? Time
Yes.
What do they call
Yes.
it?
Biden is a low-key time variant. I think we figured it out.
Dude, I am tripping right now. What is it called? The roll back your clock, spring forward, fall back.
Oh, you mean the well, now I'm having brain farts over here.
Oh no. What is it called?
Daylight savings.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Okay.
What do they got? Some daylight savings time situation between London and Moscow?
I don't know.
Okay.
My guess is that this photo that they use is just from the fall or the, whatever.
Yeah, it's an old photo.
It's an old photo, and they're just releasing it now, and everyone's freaking out.
What is the purpose of the release of this photo? What are they trying to say?
The tweet is, this morning, the president and vice president met with their national security team and senior officials to hear updates on the drawdown of our civilian personnel in Afghanistan, evacuation of SIV applicants and other Afghan allies, and the ongoing security situation in Kabul. And yeah, I don't know. I think they just took a stock photo from a few months ago, and they're like, here you go. Here's Biden doing something.
Yeah, probably.
But
that's
that's
probably the case.
I don't think there's anything too crazy or conspiratorial there. But
I mean, maybe it's the Mandela effect.
It could be. It's hilarious though, because you kind of zoom in. There's like on the screen where he's talking to people. You got JFK. You have CIA. You can kind of see the labels down there. So kind of interesting.
What? JF? Oh, you mean what?
It's
the labels of what?
The screen, like each little zoom square, like whoever he's talking to.
JFK?
Well, I don't know. It's
now he's a real time variant.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the JFK, I don't know, airport. I don't know what's going on. I think the CDC is there too, maybe. I don't know. I can't tell. But CIA is definitely one of them.
But I hope so. I mean, we all know that they're involved in this whole situation.
More on the CIA later, but let's just jump in with the Flippy update.
They just created the Taliban.
Oh,
Why wouldn't they be on the Zoom call?
Yeah. It's all going to plan. All right, here we go. Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
All right, folks, to start off the show here, we're going to check in with Flippy. It's the Flippy update. And if you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We like to check in with Flippy to examine and explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, I got a story from the BBC, Gons. BBC.com. The headline, would you let a robot lawyer defend you? Well, would you, Gons?
I don't know.
Sounds cost effective.
I was going to say, their lawyers aren't really known for their integrity. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's something to look into depending on your situation.
Well, let's get into it because I have a lot to say. Joshua Browder describes his app Do Not Pay as, quote, the world's first robot lawyer. That's a weird name for a robot lawyer app. Do Not Pay. It helps users
especially probably because it's super expensive. Eventually.
Or bad at its job. It helps users draft legal letters. You tell its chatbot what your problem is, such as appealing against a parking fine, and it will suggest what it thinks is the best legal language to use. Quote, people can type in their side of an argument using their own words, and software with a machine learning model matches that with a legally correct way of saying it, he says. The 24-year-old and his company are based in Silicon Valley in California. Of course, he's 24 and in Silicon Valley. But the firm's origins go back to London in 2015 when Mr. Browder was 18. Quote, as a late teenager in Hendon, North London, I was a horrible driver, he says. I got a lot of expensive parking tickets, which, since I was still in secondary school, I couldn't afford. Through lots of research and freedom of information requests, Mr. Browder says he found the best ways to contest the tickets. Quote, if you know the right things to say, you can save a lot of time and money. Rather than copy and paste the same document each time, he says it seemed, quote, the perfect job for software. So he created the first version of Do Not Pay. In a few weeks, weeks in 2015. Quote, really, just to impress my family. Since then, the app has spread across the UK and the US, and it can now help the user write letters dealing with a range of issues: insurance claims, applying for tourist visas, complaint letters to a business or local authority, getting your money back for a holiday you can no longer go on, or canceling gym membership. Look, why do we need to get the law involved in canceling your gym membership? Mr. Browder says the last two uses soared during the pandemic.
Oh, there you go.
Huh.
Probably because
the vacation you can't go on and canceling your gym membership.
Probably because when gyms shut down, they probably kept charging people, and people wanted to get a refund.
Okay.
The gym I was at just can't. They just said we're not going to charge you because we're just closed. Yeah. They're on top of it, and then I quit the gym. So, but now I'm boxing.
Yeah, we didn't even bring up your boxing in the intro to the show.
Yeah,
we'll have to sneak it in a relevant area.
Yeah,
Do Not Pay now claims to have 150,000 paying subscribers, and why? How much consistent legal trouble do you need to be getting in to have a subscription to an artificial intelligence? You might as well contest everything if you're paying the monthly subscription. And while it has its critics, with some saying its legal advice is not accurate enough, last year it won an award from the American Bar Association for increasing legal access. Mr. Browder claims an 80% overall success rate, down to 65% for parking tickets, because some people are guilty. You might think human lawyers would fear AI encroaching on their turf, but some are pleased, as the software can be used quickly to trawl through and sort vast quantities of case documents. One such lawyer is Sally Hobson, a barrister at London-based law firm, the 36 Group, who works on criminal cases. She recently used AI in a complex murder trial. The case involved needing to quickly analyze more than 10,000 documents. See, they're moving into don't worry, the AI is not here to steal your job. It's here to make your job easier. Lawyers, don't sue us. The software did the task 4 weeks faster than it would have taken humans, saving $50,000 in the process. Wow, 4 weeks. Lawyers using AI for assistance is becoming the norm and no longer a thing that's nice to have, says Eleanor Weaver, chief executive of Luminance, which makes the software Ms. Hobson uses. More than 300 other law firms in 55 countries also use it, working in 80 languages. Quote, historically, you had a lot of document checking technologies that were no better than keyword searches, like hitting Control F on your laptop, says Miss Weaver. By contrast, she says that today's sophisticated software can connect associated words and phrases. AI is, however, not just helping lawyers sort through documentary evidence. It can also now help them prepare and structure their case and search for any relevant legal precedents. Lawrence Lieberman, who heads London law firm Taylor Wessing's digitizing disputes program, uses such software, which has been developed by an Israeli legal firm called Litigate. Quote, you upload your case summary and your pleadings, and it will go in and work out who the key players are, he says. And then the AI will link them together and pull together a chronology of the key events and explanations of what happens at the dates. Meanwhile, Bruce Broad, chief technology officer of Deloitte Legal, the legal arm of accountancy giant Deloitte, says that its Tax One software system can analyze historical court data for similar tax appeal cases. The firm claims it can correctly predict how appeals will be determined 70% of the time. Quote, it provides a more quantifiable way of what is your likelihood of success, which you can use to determine if you should proceed, adds Mr. Browd. Yet, while AI can help write legal letters or assist human lawyers, will we ever see a time of robot solicitors and barristers, or even robot judges? Quote, I think, really, in reality, we're nowhere near that, says Miss Weaver. Likely story, Miss Weaver. But others, like Professor Richard Susskind, who chairs the Lord Chief Justice of England's advisory group on AI, aren't so sure. Professor Susskind says in the 1980s he was genuinely horrified by the idea of a computer judge. but that he isn't now. Ah, sellout. Flippy got to you, man. He points out that even before coronavirus, quote, Brazil had a court backlog of more than 100 million court cases.
Oh my gosh.
And that there is no chance of human judges and lawyers disposing of a caseload of that size. So if an AI system can very accurately, say with 95% probability, predict the outcome of court decisions, he says that maybe we might start thinking about treating these predictions as binding determinations. Ooh. Oh no. Especially in countries that have impossibly large backlogs. Well, that might be nice for 95% of them, but there's 5% of people who are going to be not very happy with that situation. But there you go. That's how the article ends, Gons. And robo-lawyers, I was fascinated to learn that so much AI is already being used. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it, and of course, we've been following Flippy and his legal career for a few years now. But yeah, apparently a lot of legal firms are using some sort of AI in sort of preparing for a case, of course, if not, using it to create their legal plan.
Yeah, well, that's not surprising, though. There's so much law language, lawyers that have to wade through all the past cases that have relevancy to their own situation. I mean, a lot of that can be done quicker with AI if you program it correctly. So that makes sense to me. It's just when it comes to the actual litigation and the judgment side, the the sentencing, all that kind of stuff, where it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't know if I'm too comfortable with that.
Yeah. But Cool Runningsmon in the Twitch chat. Flippy has the 10,000 sealed indictments.
Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a couple different levels of which this is being operated. Of course, the AI in the sort of paralegal use cases is sort of a robotization of the labor. The
labor,
kind of the gritty work of the legal
reading
process.
Cases and yeah,
similar to what's the other industry that I forget what I mean. It's pretty much every industry. That's what it was. Like the science industry, where your postdoctoral or your doctorate students, the ones who are becoming PhDs, mm-hmm. are sort of the grunt workers. And we've seen a crisis in the scientific industries because, these people who are becoming PhDs are basically like little peasants in the science industry. And that was part of the reason why China, was able to get such a foothold in the American science industries. But with Flippy coming in to do the paralegal work, it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand you get all these sort of freshly minted either legal students or new lawyers who are kind of relegated to doing the backbreaking work of reading 10,000 pages of legal work before some case. It's that step ladder. It's kicking the step ladder out from under the industry, like we've seen Flippy do in so many other industries.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like this guy, the guy who built the software, Joshua Browder, I mean, he was doing it because wanted to impress his parents, whatever. But as they improve upon this technology, they're basically building the infrastructure to be replaced by, right. They're building their replacement per se. And that's kind of an issue in terms of just the entire robot takeover conversation with especially the people developing the technology and the software and all that. They're by the time they perfect it, it's like, great, you perfected it. Now you can go home because we don't need you anymore.
Fired, and with our 95% probability predictions, we're going to turn Flippy's predictions into binding determinations. So there you go.
Yeah.
I had one last thing, but I forget. Wow, my brain is it hasn't quite gotten up to speed today, I think.
Yeah, sounds like it. And I'm doing other administrative work over here. I'm trying to put together that weekly newsletter of links. I didn't complete it last week. So yes. I'm doing that as we go along here. So forgive me if
I will say I do like the idea of easier access to fighting things like tickets, parking tickets, speed tickets, because that is so intimidating. Like if you get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or something that you are innocent of, even if you are annoying. Completely innocent, it's a huge pain in the butt.
It takes a whole day out. You got to go down to the court and you got to wait for the police or the cop to show up or whatever.
Everybody's trying to intimidate you out of it. And if you don't use the right words, you're standing in front of the judge or whoever and you're kind of stumbling around. I've tried it before. It did not work out well.
Didn't work for you?
No.
I think I got out of one once. But it took all day, and I was like, it's not worth it. I'd rather pay the
I know
$40 or whatever I saved.
The lost lost cost of if you're saving $100 on a ticket to take a whole day out of work or something, you might as well just pay the ticket. Yeah. And that's what they're counting on.
I think that is the thing. Yeah. But that does raise the question. Because a lot of the legal system, at least what I've experienced locally here, is built on inconvenience.
Right.
So will it start to change the way law is shaped in general if everybody can sue? Are they going to just if those efficiencies are cleaned up, or brought to the people, will they at least be more transparent with some of their laws or their legal?
I just found the roadmap. Here's the roadmap. So if you make it easier for any old schmuck to download this app and create a whole bunch of legal documents that they're going to use to appeal a ticket or something, that's actually going to be putting a greater workload on the court system. Yeah. Suddenly you have access to a whole new class of people who are going to be sending in legal documents. And that's the roadmap, because once you make it easier for regular people, then you have an increased workload on the court system. That's when you need to bring the AI to handle that increased workload. And that goes all the way to judges, where, a judge, somebody's got to judge all these new things coming in. And you know what? If the AI created the legal document or is being used to fight the case, you might as well let another AI decide the determination. Yeah. So it'll just be a complete legal system of robots talking to other robots.
Oh yeah, that's not creepy at all. Flippy,
it's gonna be fun.
Flippy flipping burgers and bringing down the hammer.
Flipping burgers and flipping cases.
Yeah.
All right. Should we talk about politics?
Let's do some politic. Oh, I got to get back to my page here.
Poly. It's Latin for many. Tick. They'll suck your blood. They'll suck politics. Your blood.
Of course, the big talk of yesterday, over the weekend especially, was Afghanistan. We are leaving Afghanistan, and the Taliban took about 30 seconds to take over the government there. And
to everyone's surprise,
we had no idea. Well, of course, this is being shaped and presented as a massive failure on the part of Biden. And I have my opinions. I know you have your opinions. I think we share a lot of the same opinions when it comes to this issue. But let me play for you first. Biden, from the beginning of July, talking about the Taliban takeover, being asked, is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable? And, I think, and you sort of agreed with me when I mentioned this before the show, Basil, that they have set up Biden for this fall here. But let's see what Biden had to say a month ago, back in July, at the beginning of July.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000 well equipped as any army in the world, and an air force. against something like 75,000 Taliban. It is not inevitable.
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
Can you please clarify what they have told you about whether that will happen or not?
Not true. They did not reach that conclusion.
So what is the level of confidence that they have that it will not collapse?
The Afghan government leadership has to come together. Clearly have the capacity to sustain the government in place.
Do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam, with some people feeling...
None whatsoever. Zero. What you had entire brigades breaking through the gates of our embassy. 6, if I'm not mistaken. The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable in terms of capability. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comparable. The likelihood there's going to be Taliban overrunning everything, owning the whole country, is highly unlikely.
Famous last words.
Famous last words of Biden. He said it, and I was gonna have that photo ready, but I just didn't get around to it. But he was talking about how the chopper is gonna airlift people out, and he's like, "That's never gonna happen," and it definitely happened. There's the photos.
Exactly what happened.
And there are people sharing a side-by-side comparison from Saigon, I think like 20 years ago, doing the same thing. The chopper coming down, taking people off the roof of the embassy. And now same thing happening in Afghanistan. We've talked about it before, how Afghanistan and our occupation there had a lot to do with harvesting the poppy seeds and the heroin harvest that has been an issue in the United States, especially in my area in Southern California here. In the last 10 years, the heroin problem skyrocketed in certain pockets, and it was frustrating because people were like, I don't know where this is coming from and whatever, and I mean, I tried to tell them, like, no, this is part of the CIA operation in Afghanistan, and they're like, no, that's never. And it's like, well, that's kind of what it is, but I guess they're done with that now, or at least some of the proxies of the CIA have completed their mission in taking over the government there. Because in my opinion, and this is not a crazy, wild fringe theory, because it's been well established that the CIA was involved with assisting the creation of the Taliban and at least helping them defend against the Soviets, if I'm not mistaken.
They were our proxy army against the communists' incursion into Afghanistan.
Yeah, and that was the 90s, right? The Mujahideen, I think that's how you say it. Mujahideen. That's hard to say.
This was like in 89, 90, 91. Actually, the communist wing of the army in Afghanistan actually lasted after the Soviet Union fell. I mean, the Soviet Union fell, and there were still communist fighters in Afghanistan. Yeah, which is why, the CIA needed to continue to support, the Taliban.
Yeah, well, that's the origin of Osama bin Laden being on the payroll of the CIA. That all came from that whole project there. Mm-hmm. And so, stretch it out 25 or I don't know, almost 30 years later. We obviously had 9/11. That was the big catalyst to really move into Afghanistan. Right. And then 20 years after that, we're moving out, but oh no, the Taliban is taking over the government there. Well, yeah, if they're the CIA proxy, the mission is complete. The CIA has completed their mission in taking it over. So that's kind of my take on it. But I think it's really interesting that the mainstream is using this as ammunition to really go after Biden. And this is the sentiment we are seeing from none other than CNN, especially. They're kind of leading the charge with this notion that, Biden is messing it up. He's failing. And I have this clip here from CNN with Jake Tapper. And I think Anthony Blinken is the one answering for the White House. But you can tell that Jake Tapper is playing his best objective reporter here. You know, it's weird because, you know, during the Trump era, it was so anti-Trump, and now they get to pretend like they're objective journalists. But here's Jake Tapper, very upset and calling out the White House and Biden.
Beyond that is, again, the question of how poorly this was done. The idea that President Biden ordered 2,500 service members out and now is sending up to 5,000 service members back in, does that not on its face show that the exit was ineptly planned? And again, look, you told me a few months ago on this program that you thought it was entirely likely that the Taliban would be taking over the country. But President Biden, just last month, quote, "The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely." He was wrong.
Jake, what we've done, what the president has done, is make sure that we were able to adjust to anything happening on the ground. And the fact that he sent additional forces in, we had those forces at the ready, fully prepared to go in the event that this moved in a direction where we needed forces in place to ensure that our personnel was safe and secure, to ensure also that we could do everything possible to bring out of Afghanistan those Afghans most at risk. That's exactly what we're doing.
Why didn't you have the troops in there and then let that happen first before taking them out?
Again, I come back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, which is that status quo was not sustainable. Like it or not, there was an agreement that the forces would come out on May 1st. Had we not begun that process, which is what the president did, and the Taliban saw, then we would have been back at war with the Taliban. And we would have been back at war with tens of thousands of troops having to go in because the 2,500 troops we had there and the air power would not have sufficed to deal with the situation, especially as we see the Afghan security forces.
There you go. He goes on to say that,
Did you hear what Tapper's solution was? He's talking about, pulling out 2,500 and then sending back whatever it was.
5,000.
5,000, yeah. And he was like, well, why didn't you just send in the 5,000 first and then pull out the 25? What are you talking about?
I know. That's why I said he's
rambling.
That's why I said he gets to pretend, he gets to play the part of the objective journalist here. But it's not really. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock into Jake Tapper's analysis. But the Blinken goes. By the way, Blinken. I mean, come on, weird fake name. We've talked about it before, but it's just another reminder that this is all just a stage show. It feels like. He goes on to say that all the people in that region or the hostile folks in that region would love to have the U.S. stay in Afghanistan for many more years. It's like, okay, all right. Well, there you go. That's
notice how and this will become apparent as we keep going. But I mean, pulling out of Afghanistan has been a rallying call for the left and the right at different times for the past 20 years, or close to 20 years. Do you hear a strange noise? Is that coming from me or is that on?
I don't hear anything.
Okay. It sounds like hopefully my computer fan or something is off axis.
Oh, I might hear something, but it might be one of the supplements you're taking, just bouncing around in your head.
It's just buzzing. Yeah. Anywho, so pulling out of Afghanistan has been a war cry for the left and the right at different times for the past 20 years. And Obama said he was going to do it. He didn't do it. And Trump said he was going to do it, and he didn't do it. And now Biden comes in and he does it. And now, of course, nobody likes the fact that he's doing it. But here's the real question is like, yeah, of course the Taliban is going to come and, regain ground. That's the whole point of a power vacuum. We knew somebody was going to come in. Well, no matter how much Biden tries to convince us otherwise, of course we knew the Taliban was going to gain ground. But when you think about the interests of the United States of America, what were the interests in being in Afghanistan in the first place? I mean, this is the poppies, like you said.
Terror. Got to fight the terrorists.
Oh, the terror, sure. Yeah, especially early on, it was the terror thing. But it's the poppies, and I'm not totally sure what the oil situation is, but that seems to be involved as well. Now that we're out, the biggest, the biggest complaint, of course, they say Taliban's taking over. But what exactly does that mean? Like, what is the negative side for the interests of the United States in Afghanistan? Because it's all being framed as a humanitarian thing.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this plane taking off, this U.S. plane, and all these poor Afghanis. They want to leave. They're it's framed as this like social justice, humanitarian disaster, but nobody's really made any good cases for like why it's in the interest of the good of the United States to go back in or whatever.
Yeah, well, obviously because the agendas, the true agenda and the public narrative definitely don't match, and I think they're trying to make sure that the majority of the public don't start questioning, some of the things that they're being peddled out there. So yeah, but again, just sort of keeping it on the president here. It's the attack, so to speak, is pretty strong, and this is CNN Politics. Biden's botched Afghan exit is a disaster at home and abroad, long in the making. So they're, the footage that you're talking about of like the people hanging on there, they can't take off because there's missiles flying. For some reason, it reminded me of Star Wars. I was just thinking that because I started watching some of the Bad Batch, and there's definitely a model to all Star Wars. They got to get to the ship, they're getting shot at, and they got to back up into the ship, and they got to leave, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it was just weird because we don't see that much here, but that's kind of the vibe I got from some of the photos coming out of Afghanistan there. But
and of course, there's issues with the Afghanis who were aiding the U.S. military. You've got the translators and the people who helped the U.S. while there, who are now fearing for retaliation from the Taliban. Did we want to read this CNN?
No, I would have to go through the whole thing because it's kind of long, but I will just read a few paragraphs. It kind of
seems to have like at least a CNN
CNN version
of the historical basis of what we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay, so here it goes. The debacle of the U.S. defeat and chaotic retreat in Afghanistan is a political disaster for Joe Biden. Political disaster for Joe Biden, coming out of the pages of CNN, whose failure to orchestrate an urgent and orderly exit will further rock a presidency plagued by crisis and stain his legacy. Those are pretty harsh words coming out of CNN for Mr. Gonna fix everything.
Totally. But well, and we'll see. I've got a nice little missive from our good buddy Chris Shillzilla.
Oh, Shillzilla weighed in on the situation? I can't wait.
We've got a complete CNN attack on the Biden administration.
Oh, I love it. But a stunning Taliban blitzkrieg followed more than 20 years of U.S. and allied policy failures, misunderstandings of Afghan politics and culture, public war fatigue, and the culpability and corruption of the failed state's leaders. And while Biden's political and geopolitical rivals rush to exploit his mistakes, the true magnitude of the crisis can only be judged in the human tragedy of a people again subject to Taliban persecution and a failure to fulfill the now apparently near impossible tasks of evacuating all the Afghan translators, workers, and fixers on whom the U.S. relied and who now face Taliban retribution would besmirch America's conscience and global reputation. Quote, it is a stain on our nation's integrity and honor that even just a few months ago we were not meeting our obligation to the men and women, our Afghan allies who served alongside us, Jake Wood, a former U.S. Marine and Afghan war veteran, told CNN's Pamela Brown on Sunday. Quote, we owe them the special immigrant visas, we owe them safety, every bit as much as we owe safety to our embassy workers in Kabul. And also, get them vaxxed. Get them all vaccinated. That would really help their safety over there. Biden remained at the Camp David presidential retreat in Maryland on Monday morning, but was set to return to the White House to address the nation during the afternoon. Senior national security office officials appeared on television news shows in an apparent effort to counter the impression that the administration had been badly overtaken by events. And it goes on here. I don't know if you had anything that you specifically wanted to highlight, but
Not in this one.
They do. I don't know if it mentions in the article, but Jen Psaki was supposed to do her presser this morning, but they canceled that because there's a situation at hand. She's not going to be able to handle the barrage of arrows being fired at the White House here. So that should be telling on one hand, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, it goes into the history here. Ironically, Biden's mismanagement of the withdrawal from Afghanistan underscored his core point. The U.S. visions of forging a functional nation were illusory, and that many more years of U.S. involvement would not make any difference. The evaporating Afghan forces and police that the U.S. spent billions building up to fight the Taliban mystified many Washington officials.
Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting point because the American people, just the general public, part of the reason why they would be outraged is because we have 20 years of taxes that we've been paying to support this whole Afghan mission.
Not to mention the human cost.
Of course.
2,000 soldiers died, and more, lost limbs, and all sorts of horrible PTSD things. I mean, we've damaged American human beings in this situation, not to mention the taxes. It's
right.
Like we paid a big cost for this. Again, not necessarily disaster of a pullout, but a disaster of occupation in general.
Yeah. And the fact that how much of that tax money was going to our CIA, and how much was the CIA involved in actually helping the Taliban establish themselves and continue to be a threat. So it is fascinating because you talk about the Middle East and there's all kinds of issues there, but you look at the financing, and we were funding in some ways without knowing it both sides of the operation, but we're only told about one side, so. Yeah. Fascinating here. This encapsulates how top military brass and diplomats were misled by their own preconceptions, and the investment of years of U.S. blood and treasure, troop surges, drawdowns, diplomatic offenses, and arbitrary timelines to leave. And I'm not going to read the article. There is a extra article there's a lot of articles in our additional stories section today. But if you're questioning whether the CIA was involved in this at all, the New York Times had a headline, ex-CIA director calls Taliban takeover of Afghanistan catastrophic. So anytime an ex-CIA director speaks, just think the opposite, and that's probably the truth. So that's my little analysis and something to chew on for people. I'd like to build on that, but let's start with showing this next image. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, this is a fun little image, and of course, I don't know if you have the Black Hawk image lined up, but that's another fun one. I can do
it, yeah.
But this one's fun. It's a tweet from Gravel Institute. Taliban fighter posing with U.S. weapons in a base they just captured easily. This is what we spent $1 trillion on. And yes, you've got a pleasant-looking Taliban fighter there. He looks rather well-groomed, wearing a nice pink...
I know, his beard is just...
He's
very well put together.
He's enjoying his time here in the U.S. base, and he's got his pink outfit with his black headgear, holding what looks to be a brand new rifle, a long gun with a scope.
Nice scope on it. What's the other guy holding? That thing looks gnarly.
Yes, they've got a lot of new toys. Behind them is a rack filled with some sort of AR. They look like AR-15s, maybe M60. I can't really tell what they are. I'm sure somebody in the chat will love to educate me on that. So yeah, this is part of what's going on, is the Taliban seizing a lot of these new fun weapons, including a Black Hawk helicopter, of course. That picture is going around. Now, there's a couple of additional angles to this whole thing, which is when you talk about the military-industrial complex, of course, there are huge embedded military industrial corporations embedded in the government whose entire MO is predicated on the continuous war efforts of the US and the continuous manufacturing and sale of weapons, not just to the US but also to other countries around the world, inevitably funneling weapons into our alleged enemies' hands.
Yeah.
And this seems like a nice, profitable situation for some weapons manufacturers.
I know. We lost all our weapons. We must, we must build more stronger weapons.
They soaked up the profits from 20 years of a perpetual war in Afghanistan. And then, things started kind of stagnating a little bit. Not a whole lot of fighting. Of course, Trump took care of most of the ISIS problem. And so profits were stagnating. So what do? Okay, we got to pull everybody out of Afghanistan. Whoopsie daisies. We left a bunch of weapons that get taken by the Taliban. Okay, let's send 5,000 more troops in. Oh, well, we got to buy new guns for these 5,000 new guys. Okie dokie. Now you've got a refreshed profit scale for the military industrial complex. And this does also bring up an issue I just want to touch on with how exactly the Taliban did this, how exactly they were able to do it so quickly. And you listen to the mainstream news and they kind of want us to believe that, the Taliban, they come swooping in their pickup trucks and shot everybody and killed everybody and salted the earth. And the Afghanistan is just a flaming pile of debris thanks to these murderous Taliban CIA-funded rebels in the area. Well, I read an analysis, and it was very dense and very long. So it wouldn't have been good for the show. But I'll bring you the finer points. And the finer points of this are they barely did any fighting at all. They basically just would drive town to town because there's a historical precedent of the tribalism and the wars within Afghanistan that it seems as though the current administration took for granted. And that is with the sort of tribal nature of that area of the world. The fighting happens once in a while, but it's mostly sort of messaging between, like, say, the Taliban and a fortified city that the Afghanistan government might be occupying, where they'll roll up, they'll kind of fire a couple shots just to, like, say we're here. And then it almost always comes to the negotiating table and it's business. So, the Taliban, they've got poppy fields to negotiate with. They've got money. They've got international influence. They've got weapons. And nobody really wants to fight each other over there as much as we are sort of led to believe here in the U.S. by our mainstream news and our propaganda outlets, including the White House. Because basically there's just a lot of negotiation. You roll up to a town, the Taliban will talk to the chief of the village or whatever, and they'll just kind of strike a deal, and then they'll just keep going. Very little actual fighting has happened with this Taliban takeover. Even with, like, Afghanistan security forces and fortresses, they were telling stories of, like, a battalion of Taliban would roll up in their pickup trucks, fire a couple rounds at this fortress. And then basically the Afghani security forces, they're just more interested in not dying. And there's a history of this back during the communist times where, like, a family in a village would send one son to go fight with the communists and another son to go fight with the Taliban or the anti-communist forces. And so they would have two sons from the same family fighting on either side because they get paid. They get paid to do it. And when a battle or a war or a conflict would end, usually you'd be able to kind of negotiate your sons being let go. Well, if one son got captured by the other force, you're like, oh, well, his brother, is in your army, so let's just let him go, or he'll come fight for you, or whatever. It's very centered on the familial and tribal relationships.
Yeah.
And so, anywho, when you hear on the news or from Jen Psaki or whatever that the ravenous Taliban are murdering everybody as they go through, that's mostly not what's happening. Now, of course, I'm not saying Taliban are good guys. There's lots of other reasons to not appreciate them as people. But when it comes to the nature of how the Taliban was able to pull this off so quickly, it's not because they're like an elite group of stormtroopers who are able to defeat everyone in battle.
Follow me, Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold is leading the charge.
Yeah, exactly. No, basically, they just made a bunch of business deals and tribal relationships, and they just kind of waltzed on in.
Well, so you mentioned the weapons there, and I actually think that maybe this signals, and this is just kind of a shooting from the hip analysis, so don't think that this is like a full, deep rabbit trail analysis here, but just from some of the patterns that we're seeing, this could be a signal for truly the end of the U.S. being the kind of military might, the leading military might in the world. And I say that because part of the recent infrastructure bill that passed I think it passed passed the House, or the House, and it's going to the Senate. I can't remember which side it was, but the $1 trillion infrastructure bill that Biden was building. Well, there were a bunch of Republicans, kind of your neo-conservative or neo-Republican, neocon leftovers, that tried to create an amendment in the bill to add, I think it was $2.5 billion for the I think the Department of Defense to have 5G installed. They're like, oh, we need 5G in our facilities. And the amendments got rejected, which means no, you don't get the most cutting edge technology, DoD.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. And the other part of it is that there have been reports in the last few weeks that China is just ready to recognize the Taliban as soon as everything falls, leading up to this weekend. The New York Post posted an article saying oh, China prepares to recognize Taliban if they oust Afghan government. And the kicker for me was the tweet sent out by good old George Soros, where George Soros came out, I think it was this morning, if I'm not mistaken. This morning. George Soros tweeted, "I consider Xi Jinping the most dangerous enemy of open societies in the world."
Wow.
Whoa, what a flipperoo there, George Soros.
A little change of heart from Soros there.
Yeah. Now, why would he say that? Because maybe the powers that be have taken the hand of blessing off of the U.S. in terms of military power and is moving it over to the head of China there. And that's just an assessment. I don't know if that's truly what's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that does go down in that, and obviously trying to create that West versus East war with China and in earnest. And that would be the final blow to the U.S. if the U.S. does end up in a war with a true war with China, and they're able to completely decimate our infrastructure and everything.
I don't know. I don't think that would happen.
I don't think that would happen either. There's still enough residual power here, military-wise and everything else, that and just the way, the nature of the war that China has been waging on the U.S., the Cold War, so to speak, has been so effective. They don't need to completely occupy the land.
And nobody wants a hot war.
No, I know.
There's no point for a hot war anymore. You don't gain anything that you couldn't gain with cyber warfare, economic warfare, things like that.
Yeah, so very interesting. I think all the chess pieces are in place to really have some kind of geopolitical shakeup here, and power, in some sense, moving away from the U.S., which we knew was going to happen under Biden. And it was kind of obvious, I think.
Yeah.
But this is just sort of to drive home some of the points we've made here. This is RT, Russia Today. Headline, copy pasted from the CIA and deleted tweet, State Department official mourns that U.S. military won't be able to protect Afghan women. And you were kind of talking about the whole social justice angle to all this. But it says here, a State Department official has lamented the U.S. military's exit from Afghanistan as bad for women, allegedly airing the private opinions of many others. But the talking point also mirrors an infamous leaked CIA memo. Molly Montgomery, Deputy Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasian Affairs, expressed apprehension about the end of the U.S.'s nearly 20-year occupation in Afghanistan, claiming that the withdrawal would have devastating consequences for Afghan women and girls. Woke up with a heavy heart, thinking about all the Afghan women and girls I worked with during my time in Kabul, Montgomery tweeted on Friday. They were the beneficiaries of many of the gains we made, and now they stand to lose everything. We empowered them to lead, and now we are powerless to protect them. The message was deleted shortly after it was posted. Spokesperson for the State Department told Inquiry Media outlets that Montgomery deleted the tweet on her own volition. That wasn't the only tweet that was deleted, though. And let's see. Let me see if I can get to that.
That's very... Why was it deleted?
I don't know.
Interesting...
I don't know. And the article here mentions that Montgomery's messaging mirrors a leaked memo from March 2010, an elite CIA, quote, problem-solving group known as the Red Cell, proposed that the best way to fight apathy and opposition to the war in Afghanistan was to highlight the aspirations of Afghan women and, quote, their fears of a Taliban victory. So, kind of interesting that she would be peddling CIA talking points. But there was another tweet that was also deleted, and I have a screenshot from it here. And I don't know that there was a whole lot of stories about it. Here it is. I have the OpIndia story about it here. Afghanistan embassy in India shares derogatory tweet against Ashraf Ghani. Press secretary says, account hacked. That's the typical...
Always a good excuse.
Typical excuse when stuff gets sent out. So here's a tweet by the Afghan Embassy India, blue check mark, so like an official account here. And the tweet was, we're all banging our heads in shame. Ghani Baba and Ashraf Ghani, or at Ashraf Ghani, fled with his crooks. He screwed and effed everything up. We apologize to everyone for serving the fugitive. May Allah punish the traitor. His legacy will be a stain on our history. And he tagged some media outlets and people there. But it was deleted. And they say Abdullah, the head of the Afghan National Reconciliation Council, accused Ghani of leaving the people in this situation. Let's see. Where's the part where it talks about how they say their account was hacked? Well, I don't know. But anyway, that's the claim by the other side of things.
Who is this person, Ghani Baba?
Ghani Baba, I think it is the...
Or Ashraf Ghani?
Yeah, I think it was the one of the ambassadors in India. Yes, derogatory Ashraf Ghani. Okay, by the Afghan embassy in India. Okay, hold on. Now I'm getting confused. The head of the Afghan National Reconciliation Council accused Ghani of leaving the people in their situation. All right, I'm confused. You confused me.
Oh no! So
let me just pull it up because
it's my fault.
No, it's not your fault. It's just one of those things where I'm not super familiar with the politics.
From the Afghan embassy in India, or is it the Indian embassy in Afghanistan? I think it's the Afghan embassy in India.
Yep.
Yeah, so these are Afghans not liking this Ghani Baba guy. So who is this Ghani Baba guy?
He's Ghani is Mohammed Ashraf Ghani is the Afghan politician, academic, and economist who's serving as president of Afghanistan. He was the guy that was basically
he's the president of Afghanistan.
Yeah, the guy who just said later.
Okay. So this is the Afghanistan embassy tweeting against their own president.
Yeah, somebody within. That's why they're saying, "Oh, the account was hacked," but it's probably just somebody who's disgruntled from within. That's like, "Hey, I have the access to the Twitter account. Let's throw an F bomb in there." And I like how he censored himself though. It's F **********. Yeah, but Yeah, just interesting types of play there.
So I would like to take a wider look, Gons, at the administration as a whole here. And, I've made the case, and this is through talking to friends and family and other people who are very involved in being Democrats. And I always try to remind people on the show, there's this sort of right-wing I don't know, this sort of storyline of like how much the Democrats love Biden. They just love him so much. Antifa loves Biden, and so do all the radical Democrats with Biden's radical agenda. And that's just really not the feeling that regular Democrats have. I mean, none of them, I try to poke fun at them. I'll talk to my Democrat friends and be like, "Oh, there's your guy again, being silly and weird." And they're like, "He's not our guy. We don't like him. Stop doing that." And I just thought I'd bring another one of our friends to the show here, a good personal friend, Chris Shillzilla, who is editor at large over at CNN, and of course, we like to call him, also known as Chris Shillzilla.
Shill for sure.
That's right. Very active Chris Shillzilla over on Twitter. And he came out with an analysis. This is what he does. He puts out analyses. And most of them are just so stupid.
Rambly.
Yeah, so he's just sort of a rambling. I mean, he's got a great job over there at CNN. He basically gets paid to just ramble about whatever he wants to ramble about without having to like really use any skills he may have ever learned as a journalist. But this was a fun sort of setting the stage for not just for the Democrats and how they feel about Biden, but CNN especially, who is constantly sort of defending the more radical aspects of or what would be called the radical Democrats. But here's the headline: Joe Biden is facing a crisis of competence.
What?
No,
that's
right.
Not competence.
Crisis of competence.
Come on, man.
It goes like this. At the heart of Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign was a single word: competence.
Wait a minute. Stop. Do you remember this as part of his campaign?
Yeah.
He did. He had competence as part of his...
Oh, that was the whole thing. The whole thing is Trump is incompetent. Trump is incompetent.
I remember them saying that, but I didn't know it was I didn't see any billboards.
I don't think it necessarily was like
it was just a talking point.
Change, like Obama, the change being his whole thing.
Yeah.
No, but it was repeatedly used in speeches, and pundits were constantly like, "Oh, I just can't wait to have someone competent. The adults are back in charge," stuff like that. But let's keep going. After 4 years of Donald Trump's incompetence in, well, everything. Now look, it's still Shillzilla, it's still CNN, so this article is as much about Trump as it is about Biden.
Always can't get clicks unless it's a Trump hate.
You couldn't possibly talk about Biden without presenting Trump as well. After 4 years of Donald Trump's incompetence in, well, everything, the Biden argument was that the country badly needed a steady hand on the tiller. Someone who had been there and done that. Someone who didn't need training to do the job. Someone who is exactly the opposite of the guy currently in office. And it worked. Rather than see Biden's age, he's 78, as a negative, plenty of voters believed his decades of experience were what the country needed in the post-Trump era. Knowing how the federal bureaucracy worked mattered. So did having good relationships with the world leaders, and having seen everything there was to see on both the domestic and foreign policy fronts. 7 months into his first term, however, I like how he mentions first term, as if he's assuming there will be a second term. 7 months into his first term, however, Biden is faced with nothing short of a crisis of that competence, beset on a number of fronts with developments that it appears all of his experience and know-how didn't prevent. The glaring example is, of course, the rapid takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban in the wake of Biden's decision to pull American troops out of the country. In announcing the end of the American military commitment in Afghanistan, interesting how he used the word commitment there. It's like, oh, we made a promise to just stay in Afghanistan, so we're fulfilling our promise. In announcing the end of the American military commitment in Afghanistan just over a month ago, Biden had proclaimed that, quote, there is going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of an embassy of the United States in Afghanistan. Except that over the weekend, images were beamed back to the United States of helicopters airlifting people from the parking lot of the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. And on Monday morning came even more devastating images, Afghans clinging to an American plane as it took off from the country. If you click on that little hyperlink there, Gons, that'll show you the video I was watching of the Afghans clinging to the side of a U.S. military plane as it took off. The overwhelming message: the situation was totally and completely out of control, and neither Biden nor his top foreign policy advisors could stop it. While the crisis in Afghanistan is front and center in this re-examining of Biden's competence argument, it's far from the only data point in that conversation. Remember back in May, Biden announced that the CDC had said vaccinated people no longer needed to wear masks indoors, a development he described as a great milestone. Just 2 months later, however, Biden was forced to reverse himself amid a surge in cases caused by the Delta variant. And while Biden was congratulating himself and the country this spring on the number of people who had been vaccinated against COVID-19, his administration came up short of its oft-stated goal of 70% of eligible adults with at least one shot of the vaccine by July 4. To be clear, the rise of the Delta variant, fueled by the still unvaccinated and by many Republican governors refusing to follow guidance to mitigate the continued spread, can't be laid entirely or even mostly at Biden's feet. So got to defend him there for a second. But there's no question that the dominant narrative of the late spring, the Biden administration's competent management of a nationwide vaccine program and the retreat to the virus, has taken a major hit. And then there's the border. Arrests of those attempting to cross illegally at the U.S.'s southern border hit a 2-decade high last month. Alejandro Mayorkas, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, admitted late last week that the U.S. is facing a serious challenge at the border. No kidding. Well, and there's that little data point I was saying, that Biden has made the border issue extremely difficult for Democrats to swallow as he continuously arrests, detains, and deports more people trying to come across the border than any president in 2 decades. While Mayorkas blamed at least part of the crisis on the Trump administration, of course, which he said dismantled our asylum system, there's also no question that the Biden administration is nowhere near where it wants or needs to be when it comes to its handling of the border crisis. As CNN's Priscilla Alvarez wrote last week, quote, the Biden administration has been caught between expressing compassion towards migrants and relying heavily on deterring those journeying to the U.S. southern border. As a result, the border situation remains a political liability for the White House that is drawing criticism from both the left and the right. Given all of that, it's no surprise that Biden's poll numbers have taken a bit of a hit lately. Biden's 50% job approval at the end of last month was the lowest of his presidency, as measured by Gallup. And that was before the disaster in Afghanistan, which is dominating national news coverage, and the full scope of the surge in the COVID-19 was apparent. Biden's promise to the American people was that his years in public life had best prepared him to avoid the chaos that defined the Trump era. But at the moment, chaos is winning over competence, and that is a major problem for Biden and his administration. Chaos, Gons, is winning over competence. Coming from Chris Shillzilla, the CNN editor at large. Something is shifting, my friends.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I think I think maybe because we were talking even at the very beginning when he was brought into office that like, hey, how long does he have before they push Kamala out there as the president? Yeah. And it seems like this is sort of the beginning of it. I mean, well, no, that's not the beginning. This is an acceleration of it. The border stuff was already kind of the whispers around, like, oh, the border issue.
Right.
He's not doing a great job. More people are being detained at the border, all this kind of stuff. But we'll see if Biden it'll probably ebb and flow. He'll probably do something where the media goes bananas for Biden.
There's going to be another part of the sine wave here that he'll get some credit for something. But, as far as the trend line from his first day in office, as it continues to trend down, the one interesting thing that is not sort of following, I would say, the majority of predictions is that Kamala is not necessarily doing any better either.
No.
Again, Kamala is sort of absent, disappeared. I have not seen anything about or from Kamala in a while. Have you?
No. It feels like everybody is you're either being pushed radically onto the edges or being pushed more towards the middle. We'll have to see. You know what I realized too? Chris Shillzilla, I think, because I was looking at the picture of him here. I was like, man, he looks kind of familiar. And I think he resembles Kevin James, the actor.
Yeah, he kind of does. He's like a CNN Kevin James.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like they could be brothers or something.
They've certainly got some similar qualities. But there you go. So, the whole Kamala thing, as much as I would have expected a trend line to go down for Biden and a trend line to go up for Kamala, the fact that she has disappeared and again not really showing her face anywhere. Of course, we know she's made some gaffes in the past few months that have been embarrassing for her and her people.
Yeah.
It does kind of give me the feeling of biding her time or waiting for some timing, the correct moment to come out as the answer to the problems.
That was the strategy for Biden. Remember, like, let Trump just fall on his own sword, just let him keep rambling. And then Biden came swept in. Maybe they're doing the same kind of tactic. But this clip of the I don't know, people in Afghanistan running on the runway there with the airplane.
Yeah.
And there's like one guy who waves at the camera like, hey.
It is an interest. It's a weird vibe.
It's a super weird vibe. Like, first off,
it seems more celebratory than anything.
Well, that and the people hanging onto the plane, what are they expecting? Are they like, oh, let me hold on to the plane as we fly to America?
Well,
like, what are like? Are they gonna? They've got to let us in at some point, right?
Now, let me also stipulate. I did not track down the provenance of this clip. Maybe this is a clip of like
them landing,
an airplane, you landing and bringing a bunch of money for these guys or something, like dropping off some grilled cheese sandwiches. In which case, the positive vibe would make more sense.
Yeah. Plus airplane number 1109. It's 9/11 backwards there.
Ooh, whoa. Yeah. But okay, so like I said, I did not track down the provenance. I don't know if this is recent of Afghanis trying to hold onto the side of a U.S. Air Force plane to try to ride it to America. But I am not taking responsibility for it because this is what was linked in Chris Shillzilla's article.
Yeah, of course.
Chris is presenting this as the, all these Afghanis trying to hold on to a plane and get out of the country.
Yeah, they look really distraught there.
They're like smiling and
waving. I know, it's weird.
Dude, that would be the craziest adrenaline rush. You could see the one guy who's actually made it onto the side of the plane. He's like scrambling to look for something solid to hold on to.
Yeah.
It's like, this is going to be a long trip if I can't get a good handhold on something.
Yeah, this is very weird. All right.
Or I guess a short trip, rather.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, there you go. I think that's enough politics for today.
Yeah. We started off the show saying, hey, we don't do politics here. You get enough of that out there. But then I think we've kicked it up a lot this year, especially with the insurrection and all that.
That was before everything.
That was before everything. Well, we couldn't pass up the Biden presidency. You know, there's just too much good stuff there.
I wrote the bill. Pay them more. Give me a break. I need time.
I mean, it's just endless Biden ISOs. So that's why we are doing more politics here. But let's move to the WACCINE.
A pandemic special.
Here's a clip of Trudeau, Tyrant Trudeau. I guess they're doing a vote or an election up in Canada, and it's something what is not planned. What is the whole story behind the election?
So I don't fully understand it either, but through some reading and listening, I've gathered that they're not on a similar system as we are, where there's set elections. I think they have to. The ruling party is sort of obligated to hold elections within a time frame. And this is early, technically, as far as their sort of election cycle goes, but they're allowed to hold it early. And they would choose to do that in the case that they think they have more of a chance of winning now than later. So it's a little bit of a signal that they're sort of like rushing out this election because they think they won't have the support soon.
Right. And in this clip, to promote the election, Trudeau doesn't deny that some of his policies are tyrannical.
We've seen situations where conservative backbenchers have referred to some of this government's decisions as tyrannical in terms of how we're creating mandates for vaccination of public servants or vaccination of people on trains and airplanes. Well, the answer to tyranny is to have an election.
What? Oh, okay. I see what he's doing. He's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. If
he's
you're
trying to get people
tyrannical,
to vote.
let's have an election then. We'll let the people decide if they like my tyranny or not.
Right. But it's weird, though. It's weird because he's like, oh, yeah, I'm a tyrant. Well, let's see.
Yeah,
you know, it's
answer
weird.
to tyranny is to have an election. So we're having an election. Therefore, he's admitting to his own tyranny. Wow.
At least to the conservative, side of the aisle, which is kind of the target audience there who he's talking to.
I don't like it. It worries me when he's so confident too.
I know. We've been pointing that out.
The comments in the chat are already bringing up voting machines.
Oh yeah, no, that's been the whole theme recently with Pelosi, Nancy coming out defending Newsom, and she's like,
I'll take care of it.
My political operatives are in play now. And it's like, what in the world are you talking about?
Don't worry.
We know. Okay, we have a quick Fauci story. Are we tired of Fauci yet? Are we done with him yet?
Science is truth.
No, we'll never be tired of Fauci. He's Daddy Fauci.
Oh
Gotta
my
love
gosh.
him.
Will he just stop?
No, he's been going since the 80s, man.
It's true. This is, if you think about it, this last year and a half, 2 years has really been his moment of glory because he's been a relative unknown, serving in government and doing his thing. But
besides the AIDS thing, he was front and center during the AIDS.
True,
epidemic.
you're right.
Yeah.
But it was no social media back then. It was less of a thing. But thehill.com, Fauci asks people to put aside concerns of personal liberty and recognize common enemy of COVID-19.
Oh, of course. That's exactly. I mean, right out of the mass mind control playbook.
Oh yeah.
Don't worry about your liberty. We have a common enemy. Come on, stay focused on my left hand, folks.
Yeah. Chief White House medical advisor Anthony Fauci on Sunday called on vaccine-hesitant individuals to put aside their concerns about personal liberty and recognize the common enemy of the COVID-19 pandemic. Quote,
don't think so.
You have to get the overwhelming proportion of people vaccinated, but you also have to do mitigation. And that gets into the controversial issue of mask wearing and the mandating of things. Mandating vaccines, for example, for teachers and personnel in the school, Fauci said while appearing on CBS's Face the Nation. Fauci reiterated to guest host Nancy Cordes that although breakthrough cases are being seen in vaccinated individuals, it is the unvaccinated who are becoming seriously ill and dying. Still no statistics on that, like hard data that's public. Quote,
this is 97% gone.
Oh, no, it's 92 now.
99%. Oh, we're down to 92.
92,
okay.
yeah.
Things seem to be getting better.
It's getting better.
What a wonderful trend line.
Yeah, we'll keep this up.
Unvaccinated getting sick.
We'll be at 0 in like 2 months.
Yeah, that's great.
Quote, it's the unvaccinated that are doing that. We have a lot of tasks.
Doing what?
I don't know. Doing the dying, the dying and the illing.
Doing the dying and the illing.
We've got to do mitigation. Put aside all these issues of concern about liberties and personal liberties and realize we have a common enemy, and that common enemy is the virus, Fauci said. And we really have to go together to get on top of this. Otherwise, we're going to continue to suffer as we're seeing right now. Oh, gosh.
Okay. Again, another threat.
More threats. Cordes also asked...
aside concerns of liberties and personal liberties.
I mean, it's so blatant at this point.
It's just such... I mean, even the choice of vocabulary, I mean, specifically talking about liberty.
Yeah.
You know, you got the Statue of Liberty. You've got the word liberty is a very powerful word. And to be telling Americans to put aside their liberty is just not good rhetorical craft.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
at least get a little bit more slithery around the language, Fauci.
Yeah. Well, let me just continue here. Cordes asked Fauci if individuals eligible for a third booster shot of a COVID-19 vaccine should get a Moderna shot, regardless of their initial doses, noting a recent study that found Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine is more effect than Pfizer's at stopping the Delta variant.
Thanks, the Hill.
Come on, the Hill.
Typo.
Moderna is more effect. Fauci, however, disagreed.
Sounds like a bad translation
I know.
from like a Chinese dubbed movie or something.
Fauci, however, disagreed with that suggestion. Quote, first of all, it's a preprint study. It hasn't been fully peer-reviewed, and I don't doubt what they're seeing, but there are a lot of confounding variables, he said. That's how the article ends.
It's funny how he said this about the Moderna shot, but doesn't say that about all the other non-peer-reviewed, non-published studies that he and the director of Doom, Walensky, quote all the time.
Yeah.
And is the basis of all their new lockdown threats.
Yeah. I will mention just briefly, I think it's an apropos time to mention that Adam Curry over at No Agenda on episode, I think it's 1373 was a recent episode, did a breakdown of mass hysteria. And he quoted this, I guess he's a psychologist, I think it was.
Clinical
psychologist who was looking at the data for COVID, and he was confused because none of it added up, which we've been doing the same thing, looking at some of the numbers and going, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are stuff not adding up?
Yeah.
And he moved over to the mass hysteria side of things, and he lays out in about a 20-minute segment, he lays out the method to create mass hysteria and how the COVID crisis, quote unquote, checks off every single one of them.
Yeah,
and
a clinical breakdown of mass hysteria was not the clinical term.
It started with a D, divergence or something.
Yeah, we might have to.
Yeah, we might have to just take it. Yeah.
We're probably going to poach it and bring it to this audience because it's very important what they had there, and we try to supplement with No Agenda. We try not to cover a lot of the same stuff, but we might just have to poach that because it's very well done.
Mass divergence,
I
think was the thing. But the whole concept being that, once a particular worldview is shattered, there's kind of a vacuum created, and then you can sort of what he was describing is really trauma-based mind control, because mass formation. Okay, sorry, not my. Where did I get divergence from? Anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah, but what he was describing was trauma-based mind control, because people will avoid the pain of isolation and, you know, the fear and all that stuff to go along with the narrative that makes them feel better. But it's not just that. The part that was interesting was the people, not just the people following, but the political leaders, the health officials that are really pushing it out there. They're super bought in. Their field of vision on what's going on is even narrower than the people out there, which makes sense.
Which kind of has been my response to a lot of and I think both of our response in a wider range when you talk about like the Illuminati or the CIA or whatever, that maybe they don't believe what they want us to believe. But clinically, what we do know is those peddling it believe it more urgently and more narrowly than anybody, and that's the danger of it.
And that's why we see the director of Doom like in tears almost.
Right.
I fear for my children and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So yeah,
which is basically you're putting the maniacs, the maniacally obsessed, in charge of communicating it to the masses.
Yeah.
Which is like that's more dangerous than having some sort of actor.
Yeah.
You know?
And I thought it was a really poignant thing that the psychologist said, which was that anytime there's a dissenting opinion, they reject it. In masses, they will just reject it outright, even if it's objective. It's not about the
just
facts
out of
anymore.
hand because it is against the main narrative.
Well, not just because it's against the main narrative, but because they fear that sense of pain that they felt before. That we don't want to go back to we don't want to go back to lockdowns and isolations. And
it's sort of describes in different words and in more of a clinical way the same thing we talk about when we talk about trauma-based mind control.
Yeah.
You know, it's the trauma that is the instigator of the mind control.
Right.
And same with this mass formation, which is, you know, the hive mind thinking, you know, we'll refer to it as that kind of stuff.
Right. All right.
Okay.
You got this.
I got a fun thing here. This is coming from The Atlantic. Dun, 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 dun. Of course, The Atlantic, being owned by the widow of Steve Jobs there. The Atlantic is really, I think The Atlantic is the most egregious sort of mainstream outlet, maybe besides when Vanity Fair decides that it wants to get into like science and politics and stuff. The Atlantic is very difficult for me to read because it is just so unconcerned with facts. It is simply a social programming outlet. But they brought this very, very interesting article, which is made even more interesting, seeing as that it comes from The Atlantic. So the headline here is Pfizer gang is finished. And very cutely, they put finished, Pfinished, like Pfizer, finished. And you remember Gons earlier in the pandemic times. There was the Pfizer gang, you know, the Moderna babes and the Pfizer gang. It's like a fun TikTok sort of internet thing.
Yeah.
So let's see what's going on here. The Pfizer gang is finished. In April, Nicholas was stoked to have gotten Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. The use of stoked here makes me realize this was probably written by a millennial because, kind of weird to use the word stoked in a news article. In April, Nicholas was stoked to have gotten Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, the, quote, status vaccine.
Ooh.
Remember that?
Yeah.
If you got the Pfizer jab, it was kind of like the Gucci of jabs. The status vaccine, which was also the vaccine for hot people, and the vaccine that got a person conditionless admission to the Pfizer gang. He made a new forum on Reddit, r Pfizer Gang, obviously where people like him could engage in celebration and memes and funny jokes about how Pfizer was better than Moderna, but not make jokes containing misinformation, because Moderna is actually very good also, and everyone should get vaccinated. There was to be no anti-vaccine discussion whatsoever. And why would there be? At the time, I had just gotten the first Pfizer shot myself, and then written that my trip to CVS had been as thrilling as prom. I liked the Pfizer jokes on TikTok and Twitter and in my group chats on Reddit, as Nicholas intended. People did post memes and they did celebrate. It was an incredible spring. Uptake of the vaccine was on the rise, and the president was dropping hints about a perfect normal summer. Quote, it seemed like things were finally going to resolve, Nicholas told me. Not that we could treat COVID as a joke, but we could be more lighthearted about it. But actually, by July, hearts were getting heavy again. The Delta variant was ripping through an unvaccinated population, still numbering in the tens of millions, much of which continued to refuse a shot that was readily available. Resentment had been building around the vaccine divide. There was frustration from the White House and widespread unease about the, quote, hot vax summer that now felt like something else. Hot vax summer, Gons. As the mood turned nationwide, the fun of Pfizer Gang, too, would crumble. Things got so bad among the vaxxed elite, in fact, that on July 26, Nicholas felt he had no choice but to shut his forum down. Quote, I wanted to create a social pressure where it was like, these people in Pfizer Gang seem like they're having a lot of fun, he said. And then that fun would inspire other people to get vaccinated. Quote, that was the goal. And when that failed, I failed. Nicholas. Nicholas, go easy on yourself, buddy. It's the internet.
I laugh. I'm sorry, but we're talking about the mind control here. This is it.
It gets better. Oh, you're gonna love it,
bro. Listen to our show or something.
When I got in touch with Nicholas this week, he asked me to leave his last name out of the story to avoid having people associate his Reddit account with his professional life. But was it Nicolas Cage? Maybe it's Nicolas Cage. But he also gave a second reason for the request: remorse. Quote, I'm genuinely concerned that there may have been people who ended up not getting the vaccine because of this subreddit, he said. I already have to come to terms with that.
Okay.
Poor Nicholas. It just keeps getting better. Although the Pfizer Gang subreddit had been created for joking and festivity, it quickly became a place for people who got the Pfizer vaccine to discuss the side effects they experienced. So these are people joining the forum because they want to be in the Pfizer Gang. Hot vax summer. They're excited. They got the status vaccine. They're totally positive about this. And, they just happen to be posting side effects that they are experiencing. At first, Nicholas said this was fine. He was glad to see that people were finding the forum a useful place for commiseration and reassurance. But even just a month into the forum's life, the posts were getting weirder. A lot of them were about side effects that supposedly didn't show up until weeks after receiving the vaccine, or those that seemed like they could have been symptoms of other problems like anxiety or over-attentiveness. Some seemed entirely fake. Quote, I've had diarrhea for 2 months after my first dose, one person wrote at the end of May. Nicholas gave me access to the private archived version of the forum so that I could read the post myself. Quote, I got mine yesterday, and then around midnight, I started bringing up random concerns to my boyfriend that I couldn't even make sense of myself. Another wrote a few days later, quote, I had tons of horrible nightmares. One person said they started, quote, burping so bad 5 days after receiving the shot. Another said they had no side effects until 9 days later when they woke up exhausted, but they couldn't tell if it was from the vaccine or their period. Quote, anyone got a feeling of a hairball in their throat? Someone asked. Anyone experiencing testicle pain?
Oh, jeez.
which that was actually a big one. There was a whole, I don't know if you remember that. We covered a lot of stories on the testicle pain. Nicholas tried to even out the tone of the forum by offering encouraging comments. So just to keep the review going, he started the forum. It was all about being pro-Pfizer, Pfizer gang. This is great. And then people who had Pfizer started honestly sharing their side effects. And
must be fake.
Then Nicholas tried to even out the tone of the forum by offering encouraging comments to no avail. Quote, ask yourself the following before you post here about potential symptoms, he suggested on July 5th. Am I noticing this symptom only because I'm now hyper aware of my own body? Is what I'm noticing within the normal function of my body, or perhaps a symptom of another common ailment? Are my symptoms wildly different from the symptoms found on the FDA's website? He admitted that he wasn't a doctor. Offline, he's a graduate student in astrophysics. I'm sure he's a huge Neil deGrasse Tyson fan. But still, he asked that people consider whether they might be connecting unrelated events and drawing inappropriate conclusions. After I posted that, there were even more posts about really weird symptoms, he said. So he's got to live out and document the sort of crumbling from the mind control of yay vaccine to everybody being like, oh no, I feel weird, guys. I don't know about this. And then he goes on to try to convince them that what they're feeling is not the, couldn't possibly be the vaccine because it's not on the FDA website. I mean, we're just getting started, Guns. There were about 350 active users of his forum at the time, but Nicholas knew that most people on Reddit don't even post. A popular folklore estimate says that more than 90% of the site's users only lurk and read other people's conversations. So Nicholas imagined that for every one person writing in the forum to say they were getting nervous about the vaccine because of other people's reports of bizarre side effects, 9 more were feeling the same way but not saying so.
Good science.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's the same science. It's the interesting part is that it's similar science to like the VAERS database, which is probably true. But yeah, so he's worried that because of his pro-Pfizer vaccine forum, people are not going to get vaccinated. It continues. On July 21st, he made one more post insisting that people look at the list of common side effects and try to remember that a lot of people don't experience side effects at all. And also, please get vaccinated. Meanwhile, a newcomer had joined the subreddit and started linking to, quote, terribly sourced and really questionable articles about vaccine safety. Though Nicholas banned that person after only a few posts, it was too late. Quote, at that point, the conversation started to get a little bit more conspiratorial, he said. Another commenter started complaining about how Nicholas was suppressing earnest conversation. And then when Nicholas removed that person's comments, the same accusations came back worse. So you have this kid who made the pro-Pfizer gang vaccine forum. He started censoring honest people's complaints about how they were feeling, and they're worried. And he's so afraid that the honesty of these people is, going to make other people not get the vaccine. He starts banning people. Nicholas shut down the forum after giving a 6-hour warning. If you visit the page now, it displays only a goodbye message. Get vaccinated. We love you. So this entire pro-vaccine project crumbled under its own weight of personal experience and honesty and people getting the vaccine, wanting somebody to talk to. But the fact that this guy thought that it was turning into anti-vax, he shut it down, which is a very interesting life cycle of it's almost like a microcosm of the macro story we're seeing play out. And that's like, oh, everybody get the vax is good. And then millions of people having questions about their own experience and being told they're crazy and that side effect's not on the FDA website, so you're just crazy and suffering from something else. Now, it goes on for a little wrap up here. We're almost finished, so but this is sort of the conclusion analysis segment. Quote, "I'm never going to try any pro-vaccine online movement again because I can see that just doesn't work," Nicholas told me. "This may be a little histrionic, but it's not beyond reason. The online anti-vaccine movement is known for being coordinated and persistent, and for derailing productive conversation with a single-mindedness that pro-vaccine social media users can't possibly share." What? Why can't they share it? If you're so convinced that you're pro-vaccine, what they're basically saying is that the pro-vaccine stance just can't stand up to an anti-vaccine stance for very long, which is just a weird admission while they're trying to, decry the fallacies of anti-vaxxers. And a series of events similar to those that derail Pfizer gang seems to be playing out in much larger Reddit forum COVID vaccinated. Scrolling through its early posts tagged with Pfizer, one person reports from those who either experienced mild side effects or none at all, and who felt exuberant about being able to get the vaccine after months of waiting. Now there's less of that and more worry. Quote, "I want to get the vaccine on Friday, but some of you here are freaking me out with long-term side effects and heart issues," one commenter wrote last week. Oh, listen to that conspiracy theorist who hears other people having long-term side effects and heart issues, and so is questioning the vaccine. Under the heading, quote, "Shouldn't have started reading posts here. That may have less to do with coordinated disinformation campaigns than the fundamental dynamics of vaccine demand. The people who were most enthusiastic about getting vaccinated and thus most likely to be posting in these forums back in April and May are also the ones who would be least inclined to fixate on the possibility of vaccine-induced burping fits or hairballs or testicle pain. When those people moved on with their lives, the boards were left to those who had more qualms." Again, I don't need to. Let's keep going. "It was hard to tell on Pfizer gang where exactly those with doubts are coming from. Emily Irish, an 18-year-old Reddit user who got their first Pfizer shot in late April, posted in Pfizer gang forum a few days later to ask whether anyone else lost their voice after receiving the vaccine." There's a parenthetical here. Irish uses they/them pronouns. "To my eyes, this was one of the odder questions, and I wondered at first if it was sincere. But in an email, Irish told me that they were totally serious and that their voice hadn't come back for a week. Irish had Googled their question first and hadn't seen any useful results, so they went to Reddit as a last resort. Quote, "I really hope no one thought I was anti-vax, as I voluntarily got both doses of the vaccine," Irish told me, "although the side effects really sucked. I'm glad I got it." She lost her voice for over a week. Do intentions matter if the end result is still a digital burn book of horror stories about a safe and necessary public health intervention? In the end, Pfizer gang started looking less like a community than a litany of product reviews, as if the good-natured bickering about the best brand of vaccine steered people to think of their Pfizer shots as things they'd purchased on Amazon. Of course, most product reviews don't have these kinds of stakes. As time went on, Nicholas realized that any newcomers to his subreddit would see only reviews of the oddest and least common vaccine reactions, presented without context. Quote, "The science says that COVID is infinitely worse than these side effects," he said. Well, okay, Nicholas, if we're going to be talking about misinformation, the science says that COVID can range from the sniffles to pneumonia. That is not infinitely worse than some of these side effects, but okay, it's the Atlantic. We can use some hyperbole, apparently, if it's pro-vaccine. But no one who dies from COVID is going to give you a testimonial. To hold Nicholas personally responsible for anyone's decision not to get the vaccine would be unfair. No kidding. He was only trying to do something fun. He didn't want to be the person behind another predictable internet mess. Still, he says he's learned something from the experience. Quote, I won't say I was completely negligent, but I wasn't checking every single post every day, he told me. Quote, I've come to realize that without extraordinarily careful and thorough moderation, any public conversation on the internet about vaccines is going to become anti-vaccine. End of article. How crazy is that? I mean, look, I know it's kind of long, folks.
Man.
Thank you for sitting through it. But it is the strangest analysis, a pro-vaccine analysis, where he's saying it ends with, without complete 100% censorship, every conversation about the vaccine will become anti-vax. I wonder if there's a reason for that, Nicholas, and not just... I mean, their conclusions in this, I think, are true because, well, maybe there's a reason every conversation, a pro-vaccine conversation, might turn into anti-vaccine without stringent, thorough moderation and censorship. I just thought it was very interesting that it's like they framed this microcosm of this experience that Nicholas had and his not just the microcosm of his experience, but his I don't know, his discoveries. And you can apply that to what we're seeing in the macro across the world right now. It gave an interesting insight into why, YouTube and other places might be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this also reflects, there's a consistency here with some of the doctors-only social media websites where they were complaining about the vaccine and side effects and stuff like that. So it's not just people out there. I thought it was interesting too, but his quote here, but no one who dies from COVID is going to give you a testimonial. Well, similarly, no one who dies from the vaccine is going to give you a testimonial.
Exactly.
So you got to keep that in mind. And then also at the very beginning here, so he in the article he states, or the author of the article states, the Delta variant was ripping through the unvaccinated population, still numbering in the tens of millions, much of which continued to refuse a shot that was readily available. Now, much of which is hyperlinked. I thought, what is it? Well, it's a KFF website, which is the Kaiser
the Kaiser Family Foundation. And in the thing here, it says polling. Okay, so it's a poll. And at the beginning here, it says, using a combination of surveys and qualitative research, this project tracks the dynamic nature of public opinion as vaccine development and distribution unfolds. So they used she. I think it's the author's a she here, right? The one who wrote the article. Used a public poll to declare a public opinion poll
to declare
as scientific information
that Delta variant was ripping through the unvaccinated.
Wow.
This is the level of lacking. Just throw a link in there. No one's gonna check.
I mean, that's the Atlantic for you, man. That's what I'm saying.
So
like the
bad.
Atlantic drives me crazy. For this, I mean, this is a great example of it. But I mean, and only the Atlantic, which again, I mean, I think is not. I think they claim to be a news organization. I think they are strictly sort of a social programming organization.
Yeah, at this point, it's hard to say that they're any kind of objective.
Well, I mean, only the Atlantic can take a story where the lesson is, look, people are scared and they're having bad experiences with the vaccine, and they need someone to talk to, and censorship is becoming a problem. with, groups of people who are being shut down when they're trying to share their personal bad experiences with the vaccine. They take that story and turn it into, see how we need to censor everything all the time and not let anybody complain about the vaccine because of this. I mean, it's all coming from this unquestionable servitude to the scientism of the vaccine by this Nicholas guy, that even when he is presented with his own eyes, differing opinions from the FDA website, that he feels so responsible for anti-vax rhetoric that he doesn't even let his last name be put in the article. And he's so ashamed that he created a place where people can come and have honest conversations. It's just crazy. It is complete mind control lunacy that the Atlantic is putting out here. Yeah. And it's this double speak tomfoolery. And I think it's working. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm optimistic about the trend of where the world at large is in regards to, again, I'm not being anti-vaccine, but I do not think that, mandates and, tyrannical control and the stripping or laying aside of personal liberties is the answer to our questions here. But, the way that they and notice how the phrase vaccine hesitant is completely thrown out the door here. Yeah. They are working only in black and white, pro-vax or anti-vax language, which is, the first tip-off that they don't have our best interests in mind.
Well, they should follow the advice from Fauci.
Science is truth.
Well,
if they would do that, then, they wouldn't do so.
If only they referenced any actual science in this article.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, but also who's reading this and going, oh, yes, we must silence the detractors.
Yeah. See, you make a good point. I don't think that anybody is coming away with that explicit message, but I think it is both. It is fortifying people who might be like Nicholas, oh yes, poor Nicholas.
I'm not alone in my in my world here where I hate the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
We're gonna skip a couple stories just for time's sake. I'll read the headlines because it's worth it. San Francisco Chronicle: wildfire smoke linked to thousands of coronavirus cases on West Coast.
Okay.
Yeah. The fire smoke causes people to not breathe as well, and they got COVID.
Yes.
I thought correlation does not mean causation, but apparently.
I was thinking the same thing. This sounds like a causal fallacy here, but okay.
Yeah, but we gotta tie it all together.
Who knows? I'm no smoke scientist.
The other one here is from The Guardian. Oregon governor to send troops to send hospitals as COVID surges. Why do we need to send troops to the hospital?
I know. This was, again, so you look into the details, and the troops are basically showing up at the hospitals to run administration, basically, to take the load off of some doctors. But still, the headline that you're sending troops, was it National Guard troops? Send troops. I don't know. Just keep saying troops.
National Guard, yeah, 1,500 National Guard.
Yeah, where you have people in camouflage military fatigues, working at the hospital is a little concerning.
Well, just a lot of it is for the optics, but the idea being, oh my gosh, the hospitals are so overwhelmed. And not mentioning, half the not half, but a lot of nurses are rebelling. Many nurses are rebelling against the whole
simultaneously
mandate.
Oh, we don't have enough staff at the hospital. Well, then stop firing your unvaccinated nurses.
Yeah, that's a good plan there. But along the same lines as your Atlantic article, I wanted to highlight this Daily Mail article because we track how certain views of COVID are being weaponized against the hesitant or the skeptics of the vaccine. And here's another example. There was actually a slew of them I tweeted out, screenshots of it all, and it had to do with that guy who was the surfer dude who was a QAnon follower who allegedly killed his kids, according to the FBI.
Went to Mexico to do it for some reason.
Went to Mexico. There was also the British mass shooter, said he was black-pilled by far-right conspiracy theories. And then there was one Christian activist pushing right-wing conspiracies, saying that COVID was designed to prevent people from procreating. But this one here is from the Daily Mail. Builder, 47, who became obsessed with conspiracy theories and believed COVID was a ploy to create New World Order, killed himself at relative's home after suffering mental breakdown. Yeah, and again, it's one of those like a little longer pieces here, although, hold on, how come some of it is not loading? Oh, maybe it is short. Okay, it's pretty short.
I think it's pretty short, actually.
All right, here we go. A conspiracy theorist who believed COVID was a ploy to create the New World Order and suffered a massive mental breakdown after restrictions were imposed took his own life, an inquest has heard. Wayne Paul Galley, 47, died at a family member's house in Sycamore Drive in Skelmersdale, Lancashire on April 30th this year, where he had been carrying out some rendering work. An inquest into his death at the Landmark in Burnley on Monday heard how Builder had suffered a massive mental breakdown during the pandemic and became obsessed with conspiracy theories. Area Coroner Richard Taylor read a statement from Mr. Galley's wife of 21 years, Claire, who described how her husband, quote, believed COVID was the end of normal life and he had to protect his family by storing food. Mr. Taylor said, quote, she had been trying to get him to see a psychiatrist. The quote continues, he hadn't slept for 5 days. She says that during the first lockdown, there was a significant change in his personality and he was obsessed that the government was trying to control everyone through COVID. He believed the virus was a ploy to get rid of a large percentage of the population so there could be a new world order. Mrs. Galley told how her husband also believed that electrical devices in his house were, quote, listening to him, and he thought people were coming for him. The conspiracy theorist put extra locks on the windows and doors, and he was becoming more and more obsessed. Quote, he said he was going to buy gold because there would be no money once the government had carried out this plan, Mr. Taylor added. The day he died, he told his wife he didn't need any help. She says she thought he had suffered a massive mental breakdown, but she doesn't know what pushed him over the edge. After hearing all the evidence, the coroner reported a narrative conclusion of suicide.
Now, there's a few things to go into.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But first of all, will you do a quick maybe search? What does narrative conclusion of suicide mean?
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's not like they didn't say medical evidence of suicide. They didn't say, obvious suicide. They didn't, there's again, no suicide note. It's like they didn't know it was suicide until the coroner came along and put together the narrative conclusion.
So here's my 30-second DuckDuckGo search. It took me to Oxford Medicine, and it says here, suicidal narrative. According to the narrative crisis model, as people with trait vulnerability to suicidal behavior experience stressful life events, they develop a perception of their life story as moving toward the dead end, which gives rise to the acute suicide crisis syndrome. So looks like it's just some model.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, that's good. That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. Is this an actual
medical
clinical thing? Yeah, so narrative conclusion of suicide. Now, of course, plenty of people out there were listening to you read this article and thinking, it doesn't seem so crazy to me.
Some of his things, yeah.
He was worried, so he stored food. Okay,
put locks on doors. Okay, that's not the worst thing.
He thought he thought his electrical devices were listening to him. Well, that's not crazy. We know that is precisely the case. He was going to buy gold. Oh, crazy gold guy. Like, very few of this. I'm even coming from like just a main. I mean, not even maybe a right of center.
Where's the lizard people? The just like the interdimensional stuff. I mean, there's nothing supernatural. It's all just very benign type of
right. I mean, the crazy, quote unquote, craziest part of what he was saying was, coronavirus is to depopulate, to do the new world order. It's not that crazy. It's to a normie, that would sound crazy.
Tell him to go read the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, good point. But I thought this was an important. We do a lot. We cover these types of stories for a few reasons. One, it's good to keep track of the narrative of how sort of fringy thinkers, or at this point, not even that fringy, people are being portrayed in the media, right? And this one being like sort of the least egregious one, really.
Well, the thing is, it said he had a mental breakdown. There's nothing in here that has other aspects of his mental health. It's just they just blame it all on his conspiracy rabbit hole. Right. And so that's one. Two, it doesn't say how he committed suicide,
which I think is suspicious.
It is very suspicious. So, like, did he drown himself? Did he take pills? Like, what how did he die? How do we know it was a suicide for sure? Right. Did his wife get sick of him and kill him? Like, what could all kinds of things could be at play here.
You think of his family life. His wife, I mean, just sounds like, from the little we see in this article, was probably giving him some. She thought he was crazy. It sounds like she thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
And so who knows what's going on there. But I think it's important in this particular case, because if indeed he did commit suicide and it's because of this narrative conclusion, which means he might as well already be dead. Things are so bad and his life is not going anywhere. So might as well just end it now. It's important for people who are sort of questioning narratives and paying attention to what's going on in the world. I won't even say conspiracy folk or fringy folk or anything. If you're just paying attention, which is all we do on this show, we read the mainstream news and pay attention. It can be a very isolating experience. And on top of that isolation, you have the actual isolation of lockdowns and, things like that. And then on top of that, this man was obviously feeling isolated within his own home and within his own family, rather, sort of emotionally isolated, perhaps even spiritually isolated. And maybe he didn't have a community, whether it's online or even just somebody in his life that he could like talk about this stuff about or with, without being called crazy and told to go see a psychiatrist.
Right. Yeah.
This is sort of like the most deadly. And just to bring up the suicide rate from 2020.
I was going to say that was my next kind of point. I had an article pulled up here from the NIH, and it was published in November of 2018. I think it was revised in January 2021. The dual pandemic of suicide and COVID-19, a psychosocial narrative of risk and prevention. And just briefly here, the coronavirus disease has emerged as a new global health threat by increasing the risk of isolation, fear, stigma, abuse, and economic fallout. COVID-19 has led to increase in risk of psychiatric disorders, chronic trauma, and stress, which eventually increase suicidality and suicidal behavior. So, I mean, right there, you don't even need to take away the conspiracy part of it, and it's already had its effect on suicide rates and suicidal tendencies. So, I mean, this article is just like piggybacking on one guy's story to
what it
generalize.
Is taking a sad story of like what millions, hundreds of millions of people are going through as they look at the bull hockey that's being sort of spoon-fed to everybody. They're seeing sort of the world go crazy, and it's like this weird form of gaslighting and weirdness, and it can feel there can be despair attached to that, especially when attached to the isolation. And again, I'm definitely not trying to blame the wife for anything or anything like that. But it does say in the article, she had been trying to get him to see a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist is different from a psychologist. This is not just talk therapy. She thought he needed to be on meds, which again can be a very alienating feeling to have any family member just constantly telling you to get on meds. That's a sort of disturbing life to be living.
They put me in an institution, said it was the only solution. Said I need professional help. Sorry, go ahead.
But the biggest part about this for you guys, for our people, is, we just want everybody to know, like, if you start feeling like you're alone in this weirdness, just keep in mind that you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's millions of people, not just in the world, but you got tens of thousands or whatever of people who are just in our community, people who listen to this show. And again, we try to approach everything as level-headedly as possible. But just keep in mind that, don't let the despair of the isolation, not just physical, but emotional and perhaps spiritual, whatever that you might be experiencing, lead you to such an end.
When we first started Canary Cry Radio, I wrote a series of articles, and I was recently reading one of them just to see, like, what was I writing about back in 2012? And it was a series of articles called The Christian Conspiracy Theorist. And and I was sort of pushing back on this idea that, like, there's no reason to be a conspiracy theorist and a Christian. And my conclusion was basically that if you're following scripture, you sort of, and conspiracy theorists, the label being something that was
being
the CIA,
problematic in its own.
I mean, it's problematic, but in terms of questioning the narrative, in terms of understanding the enemy, which is spiritual, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, and understanding the greater war at play, the spiritual war, and then understanding the solution, which is not carnal. There's not like this, like, hey, let's take over the government and fix everything. That's not really the solution. And pointing out how it's only the Christian, the followers of Jesus, that can really have hope and joy in the process of understanding this stuff. Because if you're just coming at it from a secular point of view,
or materialist
point of view, you're very much going to find yourself without any answers other than an insurrection or like a takeover or down with the New World Order. We must rebel in the streets and all this kind of stuff. So. Or be completely hopeless. And I think that's an important thing to point out, because, we laugh at a lot of things here and we have a good time, and it's because we are able to sort of see the bigger picture and not lose sight of the joy in Christ, and know that, hey, yeah, it's bad, it's ugly, it's disturbing, it's egregious, but it's all kind of under God's control, and we don't have to carry that burden. It's not our responsibility to carry the burden.
Yeah, that's
of course, we want to help people understand things. We want to help them see things differently, maybe. But a lot of it has to do with helping others with because if you talk about a mental breakdown, I mean, normal folks, they don't have to be conspiracy theorists, are probably having some kind of mental breakdown this last year, given the amount of media and people saying, oh, you're all going to die. We're all, we're
all going to die.
It's all coming to an end. That stress on people's psyche is probably pretty heavy, and we're still seeing the effects of that. So, just a reminder of why we even do this show. And just to kind of wrap it up before we get into the break here, there was an article that I put in the additional stories section today. It was too long to cover it on the regular show side here. But it is, where did it go? It was basically a disturbing conclusion from an evolutionary biologist on why fake news and disinformation exists, and their conclusion basically was that there's an evolutionary purpose to keep people together and to have that sense that they're fighting against a greater enemy and stuff like that. So, if you're looking at it strictly all from evolutionary biology as the philosophy to interpret human behavior, you're going to come to those conclusions. And, it's a disturbing conclusion because there's nothing that we can do about the disinformation and the fake news that people are peddling. It's all for the survival of the people, kind of thing.
Right.
So, even they are having to deal with the sort of wave of people questioning the narrative and have to come up with explanations that are rooted in quote unquote science, but evolutionary biology being a fairly faulty philosophical worldview anyway, if you're basing everything off that. So anyway, I can't find it. I'm staring at all of our articles here that I put down, and I'm having trouble.
It got dumped.
I guess.
Got
I don't know.
dumped into the memory hole.
It's just weird because I know I put it in there. Maybe I deleted it on accident or something, but oh man, it's gone. Well, it's disappeared. Mandela affected.
On that note, we should take a little break and celebrate our community of producers.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
Woo! Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because after the break, what do we have here? We've got some food geoengineering. Oh, yeah, we've got all sorts of great stuff. Some PSYOP mind control. Oh, you know what? That was not in your extra stories. It's in the PSYOP mind control.
Oh, okay,
section.
there it is.
Yeah,
oh.
There you go. It was not kicked from the show.
Well, maybe we will now.
And then we got some news on AI and perhaps being granted the very first AI patent.
Oh no!
I know the robots are taking over.
They're not even sentient yet, and they get granted patents.
Yeah, I mean, why can my couch patent something? What's going on now? Anywho, so all that good stuff after the break. But first, we want to thank some producers. And that's right. I said producers because we are on the value for value model. You may notice, refreshingly, no advertisements, no affiliate codes, no super secret mail enhancement supplements or freedom phones, folks. No, we are strictly on the value for value model, which, you might be unfamiliar with, or perhaps you're familiar with it. But the biggest point of which is that we are participating in a new, we consider it a more ethical economic model, strictly because, well, first of all, it's voluntary for most cases. But more than that, it is not participating in some of the more egregious monetization models that exist. And here's the thing. The advertising industry, it's everywhere. You see, it's not just billboards. It's not just TV. It's not just them beaming dreams into your head to make you buy more Bud Light, which was a real thing, folks. We didn't make that up. But it's everything. It's everything on the internet. It's your big data. It's your privacy concerns. It's used as justification for Google and Facebook and everybody to spy on you. You're like, why are you spying on me? Oh, we just want to advertise to you better. Don't worry. This is for your own personal experience. And what it is they're just monetizing not just your attention and not just your time. I mean, they're monetizing the time you spend on the internet, and they are incentivizing you to waste away scrolling on Instagram and Facebook. They're hijacking your brain in order to monetize it by selling advertisement. But also your trust. I mean, again, there's a lot of good shows out there. There's a lot of them have advertisements, and everybody's got to do what they think is the right thing to do. But we've decided that gaining your trust and your time and your attention and turning around and selling that to an advertiser is not the right move, considering the set of beliefs that we talk about here on the show. And what does that leave us with? It leaves us with the advertising model, the value for value model, which is very simple. We create value 3 times a week. We do the very best we can at it. And if you get any value out of what we do, whether it's education or entertainment, or maybe you don't have to sit and read 200 news stories every week, or perhaps you learn something new, whatever the case may be, if you get any value out of what we do here, you have the opportunity to put some value in. And coming from reports from our current producers, there's all sorts of benefits that come from producing the show. And no, we don't mean bonus episodes or stickers or things like that. I mean, those might be nice things, but we're giving the product out. This is not an advertisement for our bonus episodes that you can receive if you support us. No, we give you the product and we do the very best we can. This is the best product, believe it or not. This is the best product we can do, and we give it to you. And the reports from producers are always uplifting. You know, the benefits from producing the show, getting a feeling of accomplishment, having a weight lift off your shoulders, feeling ownership of the show, participation in the propagation of free thinking. All these sorts of things are what our producers have reported as benefits of producing the show. And so I think we should thank them right now. Gons, is there anything you want to add?
No, I'm just looking at a couple more people come in. I don't know if you added them to the list.
I did. Oh, not those 2 newest ones. No. Okay.
I'm wondering if one of these is supposed to be for the next one, because it's a little early, but
well, if they're already on the list, then yeah, it's probably to be saved.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the one. That one's for next episode.
Okay. But this one
Okie
we'll
dokie.
add here. Okay. Go ahead.
So nothing to add about the value for value model. You're all good. I nailed it.
You nailed it.
Perfected the pitch.
I don't think there's much to add. We got a lot of people to thank, so let's just get into it.
Okay, let's do it. Now, the first way that you can become a producer of the show is you can head on over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. It's patreon.com/CCNT. And unfortunately, Gons, no new Patreon producers over there. Just deletions. It's that first half of the month deletion period. So there you go. If anybody's wanting to join the Patreon crowd, you got a free and open range there. But we also have patreon.com/CanaryCry.Radio. You're currently listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Canary Cry Radio is our interview style show we've been doing since 2012. It's an awesome show. You should go listen to it. Hundreds of hours of information for you to partake of there in interview style format, talking to academics, scholars, content creators, filmmakers, all sorts of people who've done a lot of great research over the years, and we get to talk with them one-on-one. It's a great show. Go listen to it. But we also have a Patreon account for that, and we want to thank some of those supporters here, those producers rather. And we'll start out, well, who are we starting out with, Gons?
Mark S.
Woo! Thank you very much. Mark S. Came in and he sends a note here. He says, I wrote a poem to honor the work of you two and the others right now and over the years. It's called Ode to the Watchmen. Okay, you ready for a poem, Gons?
Now, I downloaded some background music, some open source background music. I don't know how they sound. Tell me if you like it. If you don't, I have 3 of them, so we can try one. We'll start with this one here.
Oh, that's kind of fun. Oh, yeah. Okay, what else you got? I like that one.
Okay, you like this? This one's Heartache.
Was that a... No, I don't like that
one. This one's Sulking. It's got a little longer intro.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Let's see when it picks up here. Looking at the sound wave.
Nah, I like the first one. Oh, no. No. This is a poem. Why don't I just do it? Okay, here we go.
All right, go ahead.
This is Ode to the Watchman. Midst the morning dew you stand. You wait with patience, girding yourself with the full armor of God. Day and night you watch with discernment, with grace. You begin to see the signs, the campfires of war on the horizon. With harp and drum, the enemy is drunk on the blood of the saints and martyrs. With all your might, with all your soul, you raise and sound the ram's horn. Praying all heed the clarion call. The stars in heaven fall. The day of the Lord has come. You will be glorified, blessed by the Lord. That is Ode to the Watchman by Mark S.
There you go.
There you go. Thank
Not
you very
bad.
much, Mark S. Is beautiful, beautiful words. And yes, it's nice to. We love the creative works of our producers as well. And what a wonderful ode to the Watchman.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Watchmen with Uriel. Speaking of Watchmen.
Yeah, so there is a name in this note here, Gons.
Yes, I noticed that.
Which name are we supposed to read?
Well, this was the note that came in, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, they sent the note, so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
It goes like this. Hey guys, it's Emily T. Very happy to set up this monthly Patreon, especially as I've been enjoying exploring your early episodes of Canary Cry Radio. Here's a beautiful prayer I found yesterday while researching the fourth Archangel Uriel. O holy Saint Uriel, come to our aid with your legion of angels. Intercede for us that our hearts may burn with the fire of God. Obtain for us the grace to use the word of truth to fight against all that is not in conformity to the most adorable will of God in our lives. Amen. Well, thank you very much, Emily T.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And Uriel. I've not done too much reading about Uriel.
I know the name. He's the Archangel Uriel.
Okay.
Main tasks to preside over Tartarus. So,
I don't know what Tartarus. Oh, it's a regional guy.
Tartarus being translated as hell.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's just one of his duties.
I was going to say, I remember Uriel being in the video game Diablo 2 or Diablo 3. But I can't remember what his role in that was. I think he's sort of the angel who keeps all the hell beings in hell.
Maybe,
keeps them from getting out. All right, let's keep on moving. Thank you very much to both of our new Patreon producers.
Yep, and we're going to thank some producers that came in on PayPal. If you don't like Patreon, you can go to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
That's right. CanaryCry.Radio.com/support. It has everything you need. You can read about the value for value model. You can read about the roundtable of knights and dames. You can support the show with your cryptocurrency, and you can also become a producer in a monthly fashion if you'd like to commit to producing the show monthly. But if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make a one-time producership in any amount. Who do we have coming in, Gons?
Well, right off the bat, we have an executive producer who is also a freshly minted knight. And that is Sir Igorius, Knight of the Squatting Slavs, coming in with the executive level here.
Where'd you find this?
Thank you very much, Sir Igorius. And he sends a note here. Gents, this week we received an unexpected financial blessing. Oh, thank goodness. So we want... Oh, okay. Sorry, my fault, my own thing. Gents, this week we received an unexpected financial blessing, so we want to bless you both as well. My wife and I are in the market to buy a home. With the crazy Seattle market, we trust in God's wisdom, favor, and provision. Prayers are appreciated. There you go, producers. Put it on the list. Calling all producers. Let's get it on the list for Sir Igorius and his wife there, looking for a house in the Seattle area, it sounds like. Then he sends a scripture, Isaiah 58:11. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You'll be like a well-watered garden. like a spring whose waters never fail. May God continue to bless you and your families. Keep up the good work. Best regards, Igor K. Thank you very much, Sir Igorius, Knight of the Squatting Slavs.
Amen. Thank you to you and your wife. Appreciate the generosity coming right after the knighthood there.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Next up, we have executive associate producer of episode 376, and that is Aaron J.
Associate executive.
Oh, did I say it? What did I say?
Yeah.
Executive associate. Yeah, it felt weird.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, I've had a cat in here all along, apparently,
Oh,
that
yeah,
I didn't know of.
There he
Here's
is.
a little kitty tail. Yes. Okay. Yes, and Aaron J is on a streak. 2 episodes in a row, and comes in with 133. And a note, the 133 is because I just reached level 133 on Fortnite. So there you go. Please, can I have the Satan healthcare thing if you can find it? Much appreciated. You still
Satan
got
federal health officials.
There it is.
Satan federal health officials.
Thank you very much, Aaron J. And congratulations, buddy, on reaching level 133 on Fortnite. I was unaware that Aaron J. was such a gamer.
Yeah. How many levels are there? It's just infinite?
Oh, gonzo.
I don't know anything about Fortnite other than people play it and are obsessed.
Yeah. No, it's like his character level. It's an expression of his commitment and skill.
All right, I get it. Yeah. All right.
Getting those loot boxes. Thank you very much, associate executive producer Aaron J.
So if I'm level 1, I don't want to be facing Aaron J.
No.
level 133.
You will get pwned by Aaron J.
All right, I'll stay off. I'll stay out of his path there. Thank you, Aaron J.
Stay in your lane, guns.
Next up, we have producer John K.
Thank you very much, John K. Coming in with $50.33. And a note, there is no gazzle without bonds. Iron sharpens iron. Love you both. Thank you very much, John K.
Thank you, John K. Appreciate it.
And I don't think, yeah, okay. Yep, we're good to go. Keep going.
Next up, we have producer Cherie H.
Cherie H, thank you very much for coming in. She comes in with $24.33. And a note, hello, friends. Today's amount reflects the number of months that my husband spent in Afghanistan. Oh, my gosh. 24 very long months spent away from our family, quote, defending our country.
Yeah, quotes, defending our country.
And, quote, Operation Enduring Freedom. Okay, sure. Quote, war's the devil's playground, as they say. And it was no different for us. The first deployment brought infidelity, which is extremely common in those circumstances and very, very nearly broke us. The second deployment brought substance abuse relapse when the synthetic drugs spice and bath salt first came on the market and were commonly used by soldiers at the time since it was not yet being tested for. That did break us. Thanks, U.S. government. You wasted our time, money, families, lives, and trust. Praise the Lord, however, for grace, mercy, and redemption. After 3 years of divorce, we were restored as a couple and as a family. 5 years ago, we remarried on our original anniversary. Our faithful God can be trusted. The U.S. government cannot. Illuminati handler message complete. Yes. Wow, what a journey you guys went through there. That is
hallelujah.
And just another, you talk about the human cost of the war, and the casualties in all their forms, of course, are one of them. But again, the familial casualties are very rarely accounted for when you talk about the cost of a war. And so, Cherie, God bless you, and thank you for all your support. And we're so happy to hear that the Lord has brought you through so much.
Yeah. I have, my generation, I think, really is the Afghanistan war generation, just in terms of people that I know that were deployed. So I can relate. There's a lot of trauma and, broken families, some that didn't return.
At home.
At home, just was left at home, and then what people experienced while they were over there. I mean, we have one episode with Byron. I can't remember what episode number it was, but that was that whole experience that we produced was in Afghanistan. If anybody wants to go find that episode on Canary Cry Radio.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun. Byron was on another podcast recently, and that podcast had posted about it on Instagram, and we had some Canary Cry Instagrammers spreading the good word about Byron's episode with us years ago.
We knew him first.
We knew him first. He's our friend first. I'm glad to see that Byron's still getting out there doing this good work.
Yep. Thank you very much, Cherie. All right, next up, we have producer Rebecca B.
Rebecca B coming in with 1414, and Rebecca B's on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
14 episodes in a row. Thank you very much, Rebecca B.
Yeah, the number matches the streak.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
And
Oops,
of course,
wrong thing. There we go.
Of course, Sir Casey's on a streak.
They're on a streak.
That's right. Been supporting the show for 45 episodes in a row. He's a champion. Thank you very much, Sir Casey. I've been trying to think about the next streak number. Oh,
it's got to be 50, right? Half a century.
I suppose you're right. So 33 to 42 was 9 episodes. 42 to 50 would be 8, but still.
I mean, we just got to look for landmark numbers.
Is there a landmark number in the 50s?
I don't think
55, you got the Grace number.
Oh, true. I think we should wait after that. Maybe it should be like 65, retirement number.
Oh, your Social Security. He starts collecting Social Security. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Casey, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you keep us on edge and keeping our creative hats on here to.
I'm realizing every time Sir Casey, every episode Sir Casey is, we end thanking him with going, yeah, we'll figure it out. He keeps us having to figure something out.
We're just kicking the figure out can.
Oh, it's good.
Down the road.
If it wasn't for Sir Casey, who knows? We would have no names for any streaks.
That's true. You're right. All right. Next up, Christian N.
Christian N. coming in with a pocket full of 9s here and says, hi, Basil and Gons. I'm a longtime listener and a former supporter of your show from when you first started, and I want to support you again. Back on board. Thank you, Christian. I am an ethnic half... Oh, jeez. All right, my VR hand is going crazy again. I am an ethnic half Hungarian, half Italian from Austria, living in Norway with an American wife.
Whoa.
Wow, that is quite the collection of things.
I have to map it out in my conspiracy bulletin to figure out exactly what's going on.
I wonder where he's living in Norway, Christian. We should talk. Maybe I'll make a visit. The note continues, I may have crossed paths with Basil unwittingly while living in SoCal working on a project near Lake Arrowhead. Oh, interesting.
He knows a lot about you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of maybe some projects. I've done a couple projects near Lake Arrowhead. You have mentioned me on your show before when I ordered a t-shirt and it was shipped to Norway a long time ago. I love your show and I always listen to your show on my podcast catcher while working. Keep up the good work. Stay safe. The virus is real. I contracted COVID-19, which he spells in the most insane way I've ever seen, while living in Hungary last year and as hospitalized with double pneumonia. Oh my gosh. Double pneumonia. COVID pneumonia. Close call, but the Lord is good. I tried to look into my PayPal history, but I cannot see past 3 years. Yeah, neither can we.
Yeah, neither can we. We lose sight. Yeah. PayPal doesn't like to share data.
No, they don't. But thank you very much, Christian.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, let me know where I need to land in Norway. Maybe you can hide me in a troll knoll.
Yeah, I wonder if this is one of the producers that when I sent the t-shirt, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to spend how much to send it to Norway?
I remember the Norway shirt.
Yeah, expensive, the international shipping.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Christian. Next up, we have producer JC.
JC coming in with a pocket full of 7s. Hi, Basil and Gons. Although I missed supporting last episode, I am determined to become a Canary Cry streaker. By the way, you can call me JC. I'm not John Cena. Sorry.
Ah.
Yeah, shout out to my South Carolinian Canadians. Oh,
all right.
Got some South Carolinian Canadians. Very interesting.
Yeah, we got a lot of traveling cross world affiliate.
A hodgepodge.
Yeah.
A patchwork, if you will.
Yeah.
Of,
very
listeners.
good.
Thank you very much, JC.
Thank you, JC. South Carolina. Is that the home of the Gamecocks?
Dun, 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 dun. What? Did you just Google South Carolinian sports teams?
No, it's I think the university, the school down there, they're the Gamecocks.
Oh, okay. Cool name.
It's their mascot. I don't know.
Okay.
All
cool.
right.
Who's next?
Next up, Sigurd the Beast. Sir Sigurd the Beast. I'm sorry, Sir Sigurd the Beast.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You did skip one, but that's okay. We're going to thank Sir Sigurd the Beast.
Yeah, I'll go back to that.
Who is on a streak.
Let's see. Streak.
That's right. Sir Sigurd has been supporting the show for 3 episodes in a row, which means Sir Sigurd is heating up.
He's heating up!
Has a note. Last night, I had a dream that Gons was raided by the FBI.
Oh, no.
But that he somehow turned into Godzilla with boxing gloves on.
Yeah, that's right.
And started atomic breathing everything in sight. So from now on, I think I'll just going to refer to him as Gonzilla. Oh, that's good.
Yep. That is like definitely not an unfamiliar nickname to me, by the way. There was a period of life when people called me Gonzilla, among other things.
Okay, it's kind of a mouthful, but
Gonzilla?
Yeah.
Like instead of Godzilla, it's Gonzilla?
I know, but I'm used to a one-syllable reference.
Okay.
Sound for you. It's okay.
All right.
It's a good nickname.
Sure.
All right, who's next?
I'm sorry, didn't mean to take up your syllable count for the day.
Think of all the time I've saved by just calling you Gons, not Gonzilla.
Yeah, okay.
That's 3 syllables. Even if in the longer form of your name, Gonzo, it's only 2. All right.
Chris Shillzilla gets 4 syllables, and you only reserve 1 for me. I'm offended.
He deserves it.
All right, next up we have producer Saul A.
Thank you very much, producer Saul A. coming in with a pocket full of 7s and a note. Gons, Basil, this may be a silly question, but is it hard to get into heaven? I'm still a relatively new Bible-believing Christian, and as of late, I've been hearing many people tell me different things that has led me to somewhat worry. God bless. I'd say yes and no, but mainly no. Salvation is a fairly simple, straightforward process. And I believe there's
scripture.
I don't know what scripture it is, but pretty sure there's a scripture saying, hey, it's not hard. Some people will try to tell you it's hard. It's easy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, the point here being just rely on the word of God. Don't rely on us or other people telling different things. Just go straight to the source there. I pulled up a couple passages here. The first one was 1 John 1:9. And it says, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. That's part of it. And then also Romans 10, I think, is more of the relevant passage here, starting at verse 8. But what does it say? Quote. I always say quote. I'm just used to seeing it when I say the quotation.
I know.
The word is near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word of faith we are proclaiming, that if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with your heart you believe and are justified, and with your mouth you confess and are saved. In verse 11, it is just as the scriptures say, anyone who believes in him will never be put to shame. For there's no difference between Jew or Greek. The same Lord is Lord of all and gives richly to all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So
there you go. You know who wants it to be harder to be saved? It's those dang Pharisees, man.
Pharisees.
Anybody trying to convince you might not be saved is, as the Bible says, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and you'll be saved. That's what it takes.
You know who the people are that are making it hard for Saul A here. It's
the internet.
No, it's the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated are making it hard.
Yes. Well, I'd say if you're a new Bible believing Christian, there's a lot of back and forth about getting plugged into sort of just a local church. Doesn't need to be fancy. Doesn't need to be nothing, but get plugged in with the community around you. I know in our sort of community, there's a lot of talk about whether we need to go to church or not, but it's always a good idea to be plugged in with a community in your area.
Yeah.
Unless they're telling you it's hard to gain salvation.
Don't find yourself at
find a different one.
Yeah, don't find yourself at like a Jehovah's Witness meeting or something. And nothing against those people, lovely people. But yeah, theology-wise, it's a little more unnecessary when it comes to some of the finer points of who Jesus is and the salvation stuff and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to be hard. If it was hard, if it was up to us, we'd be screwed. So.
Yeah, we make it hard.
Yeah, we make it hard on ourselves. It's not supposed to be hard.
That's kind of there's a long arc, a story arc in the Bible of humans constantly making it more difficult to connect with God, and God saying, "Yeah, you're making it too hard.
Yeah,
stop it."
All right, very good. Good question too, by the way. It's good to rehash some of that stuff every once in a while. Appreciate that, Saul A. Next up, we have Veronica D.
Veronica D is on a streak.
Uh-oh, did I offend somebody in the chat? I probably did.
Yeah, you did. It happens. 12 episodes in a row. Veronica D coming in with the show number producership for episode 376. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. No note, huh?
No note.
Veronica D. Is Veronica D the one organizing
the meetup?
The meetup in
Hawaii.
Hawaii, that's right. September 11th. Coming up. All right. Thank you very much, Veronica D. Next up, we have producer Kim W.
Thank you very much. Kim W is on a streak.
Oops, sorry. Totally.
20.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
29 episodes in a row, coming in with a pocket full of threes. And Matthew 5:43, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you. And pray for those who spitefully... excuse me, I'm fighting off the show burps here. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven, for he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain to the just and the unjust. Thank you very much, Kim W.
Thank you, Kim W. Appreciate the scriptures as always. Amen. And appreciate the producership. All right. Moving on here. Next up, we have producer Gail M.
Gail M's on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
14 episodes in a row. And I lost it. Oh, there she is. Coming in with 316. It's great to have you both back in the saddle. By the way, Gonz is right about Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix, Basil. According to Rolling Stone's mag, Snoop Dogg's favorite weed is Granddaddy Purple. Yes, I'm old, but I got to see all the great bands.
True.
Gail.
True. That I am jealous of the older generation that got to see all these great musicians. Even though
like,
they don't
like
remember much. Like all those great musicians like Snoop Dogg.
You can still see Snoop Dogg. You know, he's doing all sorts of stuff. He was on a show with... I don't know.
He's doing Corona commercials.
He's doing everything.
Handing out beer on the beach.
My favorite Snoop Dogg commercial is when he did a commercial for a German cell phone company.
Really, I had no idea. I don't really follow Snoop Dogg.
He does commercials all over the world. He's done some like Australian app commercials and stuff. It's weird. But anyways, thank you, Gail M.
Thank you, Gail M, and appreciate the insight. Next up, producer Ciara.
Producer Ciara's on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
8 episodes in a row. And a note, if Gonz wants to go to Hawaii, I'll help the wife babysit. And Gonz saw that and God saw
I like it.
God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. Genesis 1:4 ESV. Thank you very much.
That's my favorite mandala effect moment, where my name is replaced. Oh, such blasphemy! I must repent.
You blasphemer!
I know.
Yeah, the producers are making it harder and harder for you to not go to Hawaii for the meetup.
I know. We'll see. My wife was not too excited about it. about the
No
possibility.
Kidding. No kidding, huh?
But
all right.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Soylent Green OG.
Oh, Soylent Green OG sends a note. Hello, praying for our friends. Love you guys. I just became a monthly producer at $1.44. Play on 144,000. I don't know, trying to be cool like you. All right, here's the screenshot of the monthly donation. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Okay, we did okay. Did we do okay?
I think
Mr. Green.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did okay. Oh, wow. He's got a list of names that we're allowed to call him. Mr. Green, Say No To, Soylent Green,
Eggs and
then
ham.
a whole bunch of other crazy stuff.
Soylent Green Eggs and Ham.
Okay,
OG.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, as long as we didn't use his name. Okay, sorry about that. Thanks for keeping my autonomy. Oh, you're welcome. And your anonymity. You're welcome. God bless you guys. Yeah, he's going to try to send some art. He's been busy. Okay.
He sent us a video of
It's kind of a slapdash note here. I'm having a hard time following it.
Yeah, he sent us a video with that showed a montage of politicians talking about 33 new cases.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we played it on the show at some point.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green.
Mr.
Let's change
Green
his
OG
name on here. Yeah.
Did we mess? So we didn't.
I don't know. No, we're fine. We're fine.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
All right. What is this? I'm seeing Ciara in here again. Is
I
this
know.
other
She
thing?
came in during the show again.
Oh, okay. Well, Ciara again.
No, what y'all were sharing live prompted this verse: bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2 on the ESV.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Ciara.
And last but not least, Dalton H.
Dalton H sends a note. Keep it up, guys. God bless you and your family, Gons and Basil.
And that's 89 cents for the Fibonacci producerships that are still ongoing. And yeah, there you go.
So
I think
is
that's
this
it.
description.
Yeah. That's it for the producers. Thank you, producers. Or I'm sorry, the treasure producers. We appreciate all of you, and we appreciate the generosity, but also your producership that you are able to participate in this value for value model and make this show happen. There's also other ways you can produce the show with your time and talent. Christine C. did the timestamps for episode 375. Thank you, Christine C. You can also send jingles. We did not have any jingles or audio stuff, I believe, on this episode. We have a couple of art pieces to share with you.
One art, please.
And the first one comes from Dame Allie.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
And it is a hand-sketched, pencil sketch version of Poor Florida Man. Governor DeSantis may be invited to leave office for the egregious crime of not freaking out and instituting draconian totalitarian measures to inhibit the spread of a minimally potential lethal bioweapon. And it has to do with an article that they attached from Newsweek. Recall Ron DeSantis. Petition hits 35,000. Target as Delta variant devastates Florida.
Yeah, right. That's not going to happen.
I know. It's too many retired conservatives in Florida.
No, this is just Democrats trying to get revenge for the Newsom and the Cuomo thing.
Yeah. They need a little anti-Republican news to feed off of.
Yeah,
but we'll see. But I don't think it's.
This is an excellent portrayal, Allie, Sir Dame Allie, of DeSantis, and yes, it's kind of a look of, okay, really, are we doing this?
He's kind of like, yeah.
Okay, try it.
try it. I don't get that level of confidence from Allie's depiction here, but maybe more of a tired, just kind of like he's about to sigh, like
he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dame Allie. Excellently done, as always.
Thank you, Allie. And moving on here, we have one from Sir Dove.
One art piece from Dove.
The note here. Peace. I had the idea for this one the other week when you guys shared the story of the sexy, gyrating pasta cooking Flippy whipping up meals at a spot under a crumbling concrete bridge.
Yeah.
We catch up with the hip-shaking Flippy at Celebrity Robot Chef, Latvia edition, facing off against cyborg lizard spider James Giordano in an epic showdown. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins.
Who is James Giordano?
I don't know. Oh, I think he's the chef that was mentioned in the article, I thought.
Oh, okay. Oh, the celebrity chef guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yes, well, there we go. We are underneath a crumbling concrete bridge in Latvia. There's a banner hanging that says Celebrity Robot Chef Latvia. Let's see. I got to get new controllers for this VR thing.
We got Delta, the robot, Indonesian robot in the background.
In the foreground, we've got on the left a very sultry-looking pasta cooking Flippy. He's flipping some pasta in a bowl. He's got
quite the Italian or maybe Latvian mustache there.
Yes, he's got a gigantic robot mustache. Are you able to zoom in on that? You got the wiggle lines down by his hips there, so you know he's gyrating.
The little sign on the what are those things called when you cook? You put it on the front there.
What?
The thing
sign
you put
on
the
cook?
No. Oh my gosh! What are they called?
Apron.
The apron. Thank you.
Oh my god.
My brain. On the apron is a little.
His pin. What does his pin say?
And it says, "My hips don't lie."
Oh, nice.
And the word hips is all wiggly.
Oh. And on the right, we've got this James Giordano guy. He's looking very sort of reptilian-y, spooky guy. He's got spider cyborg arms coming out of his back. He's also cooking some pasta. He's got a towel over his shoulder that says DERPA. Is that like DARPA?
It's like DARPA, but not DARPA. It's DERPA.
Yeah, it's DERPA. That's great. We've got the Gates Farms chicken broth sitting here in the pile of ingredients. And yes, as you mentioned before, Gons, we got Delta, the Delta robot, the Indonesian trash robot in the background there as the wheels have come off of the power wheels. It says, please help. What is the bottom?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. Let's see. Any other details?
Oh yeah, there's more. So Delta the robot is holding a cup of Mixantos. Looks like a soft drink.
Yes, that's the Mixantos.
And behind Flippy is a big pile of trash bags, and scattered across the ground there are the Brian's. What is it called? The
seltzer.
Yes.
What the? Oh, I forget. I got to see the big version again.
I know it's something seltzer.
Hold on, I'm gonna scroll down.
I'm having a hard time seeing the exact. You're gonna have to do that.
I'm gonna go find it. I'll go find the seltzer water.
In the meantime, I will point out that there's a mixing cup to the bottom left of James Giordano. And the scale on it is 33 all the way down. 33.
Good.
33.
Yes,
and you have the
found it.
cream.
Yes, it's the Brian's hard seltzer.
Hard seltzer, that's right. Okay.
It's the it's a play on the what is it called? White Claw?
Yeah, White Claw.
Smugness in a can.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yep.
Grass in the background. The U-Man cream. Milk cream.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Thank you very much, Dove.
Thank you, Dove.
Excellently done as always.
Yep. And just a quick reminder.
Canary Cry Meetup.
CanaryCry.Meetups.com. Go there, learn how to do your own meetup. But also, Ciara is leading the charge. Georgia meetup, August 21st at 1 p.m. The flyer is right there on the page. Go there, CanaryCry.Meetups.com.
21st, that's this Saturday. So if you're in the Georgia area, maybe the tri-state area, head to Georgia. on this Saturday.
Cherry Log, Georgia is where this is happening.
Okay, and also send an email. But if you go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com, you can see Ciara's email there. Send her an email. Let her know you're interested in coming.
Yep. Also, Missouri meetup September 11th at 10 a.m. And there's an email there, Ozark Hollow Homestead at protonmail.com. That one. And then save the dates, Washington/BC, September 25th, Ohio, October 30th, NorCal, November 6th, and SoCal, December 4th.
There's more? Are those new?
Yeah, we mentioned them in the last episode, or the last couple episodes. You just don't pay attention. You don't care!
Your barbs cannot hurt me, guns.
We also have the Oregon meetup contact there. I think they did a wonderful job in the Estacada meetup last time, and then I think they're probably going to do another one at some point. Email Kimberly there, Shield Maiden of Christ 88 at protonmail.com. EU meetup, the Hungry Hungarian, still looking for people to meet up over in the Budapest, Vienna, Bratislava, in Munich area. Arkansas meetup, Pizza Rat trying to organize something, surrealgray@gmail.com. And of course, Veronica D doing the Honolulu/Ohio meetup on September 11th. vdoming2@gmail.com. All of it at CanaryCry.Meetups.com.
Yeah, I see people asking questions about specific meetups in the chat. Just go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com.
Yeah.
And you can get all the information you need.
Email the peeps that are organizing it. That's it. I think, do we have anything else? Are we doing reviews now? We should save it for Friday.
No, we're going to save them. We had a slump in reviews while I was gone, so we're going to save them all up for this Friday. But we had one come in the other day, but we need a few more. So if you haven't done it yet, let's go, folks. You got to leave a rating and a review. It's hard to explain exactly why it's so important, but the simple matter is that when we get ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts, it tells those iTunes podcast algorithms to send the show out and show people who have never seen or heard of it before. And it really works. When we're able to get like 5 or so reviews a week, the charts just explode. So we're a little under quota this week. So we're setting the quota, folks. Come on, let's do it. I'm always afraid of setting quotas. I don't like to set too many expectations, but if we can hit 5 ratings and reviews this week, we'll be very happy about that. And it will get that little jump start the charts again. So let's do that. It's easy to do. If you have an Apple product of any size or shape, just search for Apple Podcasts. It's on your device there. It's a purple icon. Click on that. Search for Canary Cry News Talk. Subscribe to it and leave a rating and a review. I'm obligated by the divine law to read them on the air. So it's a fun way to get me to say funny stuff on the show, or just thank you personally on the show. So go ahead and do that. Thank you very much for all those who have left ratings and reviews. I can't wait to read some more this Friday.
All right, let's wake up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
We have a food / geoengineering thing here. Sorry, I have to edit this little jingle. I'm hungry.
Geoengineering.
All right.
If anybody's ever wondering, how do I make a jingle for Canary Cry? Just say the thing and put an explosion at the end.
That's not a bad idea.
Pretty much, that'll get it through.
So I complained about inflation hitting my face and my life this at the beginning of the show. Well, I better get used to it. And it's not because of inflation. CNN.com. Get used to surging food prices. Extreme weather is here to stay.
Oh, extreme. Oh, so this is a climate change thing.
Yes, that's why geoengineering.
No. At first it was a COVID thing, and then it was a hacker cyber pandemic thing. The hackers were making our food hard to get, and now it's global warming, climate emergency. Yeah, it's like everybody wants to take our food away.
devastating heat, debilitating droughts, crippling frost, extreme weather is creating nightmares for farmers around the world and making food more expensive for Americans.
Dun, dun, dun.
Arabica coffee futures have almost doubled over the past year to 7-year highs as Brazil grapples with frost conditions that have wiped out crops. Retail coffee prices will likely follow suit. Sugar prices are on the rise, driven up also by the frost in Brazil, as well as dry weather in the Dakotas and Red River Valley. Wheat, on the one of the most common food sources for the average diet, has surged in the highest level in nearly 8 years amid soaring temperatures and droughts. The food price spikes demonstrate how extreme weather, much of it caused by the climate crisis, is having a real-world impact on Americans. And climate scientists warn the fallout will only intensify from here. Quote, climate change is coming right into our dining room tables! Cynthia Rosenzweig, adjunct senior research scientist at the Columbia University Earth Institute, told CNN Business. And then they have some charts here. Bid to the moon. World food prices have soared to 31% over the past year, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Supply shortages caused by extreme weather is one of several factors behind this food inflation. Quote, there's no doubt that changes in weather patterns are impacting our food supplies, said Jennifer Bartashush, a senior analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence who covers retail staples and packaged foods. Robert Yauger, a 35-year veteran of the commodities industry, is no stranger to price booms in agriculture, but unlike prior booms, this one isn't being driven by typical factors like emerging market demand or a weak U.S. dollar. Quote, in the past, it wasn't that there was a climate catastrophe rallying everything at once, said Yauger, executive director of energy futures at Mizuho Securities. Quote, I've never seen anything like this, where everyone is bid to the moon at the same time. Some weather events have contributed to natural catastrophe losses of $40 billion during the first half of 2021 alone, according to Swiss Re, the world's largest reinsurance company. That's the second largest amount on record. Of course, not all extreme weather is caused by the climate crisis. Oh, what else? For example, some shifting weather patterns could be caused by La Niña, according to Rosenzweig, the Columbia professor, who is also senior research center at the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies.
It's space.
Space. NASA. Never a straight answer. And the rise in food prices can be driven by multiple factors, some of which have nothing to do with climate change.
What? We can't have that.
Yeah, what are we talking about? It's just buried in this article here. For instance, some food inflation is being caused by a shortage of workers, including in the agriculture sector amid the pandemic and Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. Really?
You're just saying
completely outdated.
Yeah,
talking
completely
point.
Outdated, ignoring Biden's own immigration policies, and also admitting that we need illegal workers.
Yeah. What's up with that? Transportation costs are also high because of elevated oil prices and a shortage of truck drivers. I wonder why the oil prices went back up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to mention elevated packaging costs and blah, blah, blah. It just goes on and on and on about the problems and the UN Food Agency complaining about the conditions in North America. Complete crop failure. More than 95% of the western part of the U.S. is currently in some level of drought. Droughts have caused some farmers to stop growing some crops altogether. Complete crop failure, said Rosenzweig. You know, this is the thing. When you were gone, Basil, one of the stories we talked about was the artificial rain in Dubai. They cloud seeded. So, you know, to cool off some of that area, they created artificial rain.
Yeah.
And I was like, why can't we do that here? We just constantly complain about the drought.
Right.
Do some cloud seeding. This is like 100-year-old technology.
Right.
But, you know, that would help. the world, so obviously can't have that.
We can't do that.
Climate change is increasing the frequency of severity of droughts, according to the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. A report issued by the group this week found that droughts that may have only happened once a decade now happens 70% more often around the world. Chris Field, a professor who studies climate change at Stanford University, worries about how droughts and water constraints in California and the West will impact America's supply of nuts, fruits, and vegetables. Quote, so far, we have not seen widespread food price increases for American consumers, Field wrote in an email. But as extremes become more common, the risks become more and more real. And it goes on here. I think we get the point. Climate change, a reason for surging food prices, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Did I tell my Taco Bell story on the show, or was that just before the show?
I think it was before the show.
Okay. So, yes, on these lines, I realized we're really in trouble, folks. The other day, I went to Taco Bell to get myself a burrito. And then when I got there, there was a sign on the door saying that Taco Bell would be closed for 3 days due to supply chain problems. And I knew then that this is where it's all over. When
We're all going to die.
When Taco Bell can't get its freeze-dried beans and its cheese sauce pumped from the fields in Wisconsin.
I think I get the agenda now.
Mm-hmm.
Rise in food prices. Nobody can eat. Everyone's hungry. You know what sounds really, really good?
Vaccination.
Ah, yes. We'll starve them into vaccination.
Yeah, that'll be the last play.
Yeah. I don't know why the beans are a problem either at Taco Bell because as Fact Checker Bot notes, there's plenty of old tires that they could grind up.
There's all kinds of things you can grind up.
Don't know
to get
what
Taco
the
Bell
problem
meat
is here. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for illuminating that for us, Gons, but we have a bigger problem.
Oh, no.
It's coming from CNET.com. We were all wondering what happened to one of the most exciting threats that arrived in 2020 and was never heard of again. Here's a headline: Murder hornets are back with first live sighting in U.S. this year. Dun, dun, dun. It's a bad time to be a honeybee in America. A live Asian giant hornet, better known as a murder hornet, was found on August 11th in Washington state. The first sighting of a live specimen this year. The appearance of murder hornets has been feared by scientists and beekeepers who worry a wave of devastate local honeybee. Wave could devastate local honeybee populations. Murder hornets earn their moniker through their savage feeding habits. They are known for decapitating victims, eating their young, and then taking those decapitated heads back to feed its offspring.
Oh my gosh. Did they decapitate human heads too?
It's horses mainly. It has a stinger that can pierce beekeeper suits and in very rare cases even kill humans. Between 30 and 50 people are killed each year in Japan by the hornet, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And then it just talks more about let's see here. In addition to Japan, I was actually okay, hold on. In addition to Japan, the murder hornet is also common in China and Russia. Entomologists were alarmed to find a murder hornet nest in British Columbia, Canada in September 2019, followed by a murder hornet specimen in Washington 3 months later in December 2019. A few more sightings of dead murder hornets or their nests followed in 2020. Last week's discovery marked the first live sighting in 2021. The murder hornet was found while attacking a paper wasp nest, according to Washington's entomologist Sven Spiegel. The Department of Agriculture's press release noted that a small group of murder hornets can kill an entire honeybee hive within hours. Most likely, one or two fertile queen hornets entered Canada via shipping packaging and created the colony that was discovered in 2019. Okay, there's just more history of the murder hornet. There you go. The murder hornets are back, folks. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Oh, man. Expensive food, and we have to compete with the murder hornets now?
Lilu Bilu on Twitch says it's like the insect Taliban.
Yeah, they're funded fully by the CIA.
Yes. They were funded by the CIA to fight communists.
We laugh now. We laugh now.
Honeybees are kind of the communists of the insect insect world. Wow,
Yeah.
that metaphor might be a little bit too striking there, Lilu.
I know we laugh now, but anyone read the Book of Revelation? Those creatures that come out could be
to fight communists.
To fight communists. Might be murder hornets. Genetically engineered. What we see there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thanks, CIA.
Yep. This is the PSYOP mind control segment. Oh, the article I was mentioning before.
Mind control research intensifies.
Salon.com. A terrifying new theory. Fake news and conspiracy theories as an evolutionary strategy.
Whoa.
This is kind of long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
They just have to... I feel like they just really... These evolutionary biologists... I think maybe they need to continuously get funding. Of course, that's how we know the scientific industry works. They don't... Whether or not something is scientifically found, you kind of just got to throw stuff out there to continue the funding for your group. And evolutionary biologists are the best at this, you know. There's really any phenomenon or any behavior, they just it's evolution. Evolution is, don't worry.
Well, it is religious though, if you think about it, and I've been listening to some science podcasts and stuff where they interview some pretty well-known, cutting-edge people in science. And and you can hear this on like Joe Rogan and stuff too, and when he has on these science people. But they always say, according to, if you the evolutionary biological analysis or whatever, it's like, what are you talking? Like, they have these set of principles and then they have to apply it to everything, and they come up with these theories, and it's like, wait a minute, so you're basing these new theories,
principles.
They come up with these new theories based on these set of rules that are very arbitrary. They're not like scientific. They're just more dogma for the community of evolutionary biologists, I guess. But let's see what they say here, because they're getting into I like how evolutionary biologists come up with a sociological theory. Political misinformation, whether fake news, conspiracy theories, or outright lying, has often been attributed to widespread ignorance, even though there are numerous examples of 20th century propaganda aimed at those most attentive to politics. Books like Edward S. Herman and Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent began to challenge that notion, as did the 1991 study of media coverage of the first Gulf War with the memorable bottom line, "The more you watch, the less you know." In the age of social media, scholarly explanations have shifted to discussions of motivated reasoning, which could be defined by Paul Simon's line from The Boxer: "A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest." But the ignorance perspective has a deep hold on us because it appeals to the Enlightenment notion that we are motivated to pursue truth. We are, quote, the thinking animal, right? The important part of that expression may be animal. Human beings have an evolutionary history, and deception is commonplace in the animal kingdom because it confers evolutionary advantage. There's good reason to believe we're not so different, other than the fact that humans are ultra-social creatures. In ancestral and evolutionary terms, there it is, that's that line. Evolutionary terms, being part of a successful social group was every bit as essential as food and water. So deception among humans evolved from group conflicts. That's the thesis of a recent paper called "The Evolutionary Psychology of Conflict and the Functions of Falsehood" by the Danish political scientist Michael Bang Peterson and Matthias Osmundsen and American anthropologist John Tooby. While the paper aligns with the motivated reasoning perspective, its focus goes deeper than the psychological mechanisms that produce and reproduce false information. The researchers are trying to elucidate the functions of those mechanisms, that is, to answer the question of why they evolved in the first place. So then it goes into the interview. It's got the Q&A and everything. You can watch the video. I'm going to go to the very bottom here. It kind of summarizes the whole thing here. The questionnaire asks, I always like to end by asking, what is the most important question I didn't ask? And what's the answer? And the response here, I think the most important question you may not have asked is this. We started out talking about motivated reasoning. So what is the difference between what we are bringing to the table compared to the traditional theories of motivated reasoning? Those argue that you hold certain beliefs because they feel good. You like to believe certain things about your group because it gives you self-esteem. You like to believe the other group is evil because that also helps you feel good about your group. When social scientists have abandoned the ignorance argument for those kinds of beliefs and looked into social function, then they say, quote, well, the social function of these beliefs is to make you feel good about yourselves. What we are saying is that while it is probably true that these beliefs make you feel good about yourself, that's not really their function. That's not their real purpose. We're saying that evolution doesn't really care about whether you feel good or bad about yourself. I like how they use evolution like God.
Yeah.
Evolution cares about material benefits and, in the end, reproductive benefits.
Evolution cares, God.
I know. I'm telling you, it's so dogmatic.
That is so unscientific and so scientistic.
Yeah.
That to even use the phrase evolution cares about anything.
It's dogmatic.
Yeah.
So the beliefs that you have should in some way shape real world outcomes. We are arguing that these false beliefs, like conspiracy theories and everything else, don't just exist to make you feel good about yourself, but exist in order to enable you to make changes to the world, to mobilize your group and get help from other group members. I think that's an important point to think more about. What is it that certain kinds of beliefs enable people to accomplish? Not just how it makes them feel. Well, that's the end of the article, and I asked the question, I turned it right back around to this guy. What is it about the evolutionary basis of believing anything or analyzing anything that helps you mobilize and get other people, convince other people to go along with you?
That doesn't make sense. Why specifically would fake news be that? Like,
well, I skipped the big part of the article, and it's because it just gets so into the weeds of things. But
this is a dense article.
It's a dense article.
It's all block paragraphs too. It's like 100 block paragraphs.
Yeah. So basically, they're talking about the. So the general not the consensus, the general concept behind why people peddle fake news or false, what they label fake news, conspiracy theories, all that stuff, is so they feel good about themselves and they feel like, oh, we belong to a group or whatever it is. But they're arguing it goes even further, that it's not so much that the facts matter, it's more that this type of thinking galvanizes people, it brings them together, mobilizes them, and it has this greater evolutionary purpose of survival and that kind of thing.
That is the weakest scientific thing I have ever heard. It doesn't even address why, like, specifically the fake news would make you feel this way. What is the benefit of fake news over real news evolutionarily?
Listen.
I don't expect you to have the answer.
No. But
it comes across as very weak.
Oh, well, it's super weak. Listen to this question, and then I'll just read like a couple sentences of the answer. The questioner asks here. This is Salon.com, by the way. In the section, and they're citing the paper here. In the section "Falsehoods as Signals of Dominance," you write that dominance, quote, dominance can essentially be asserted by challenging others, and argue that when given a statement, quote, contradicts a larger number of people's beliefs, it serves as a better dominance signal. I immediately thought of Donald Trump in those terms. For example, he didn't invent birtherism, and when he latched onto it, he didn't even go into the details. There were all these different versions.
I love that.
Yeah.
They are admitting that Trump did not invent birtherism.
Oh, yeah.
Because he didn't.
No.
Do they mention that Hillary Clinton invented birtherism?
No.
Oh, okay.
There were all these different versions of birther conspiracy theories, and he didn't know jack boop about any of them. He just made those broad claims, drawing on his reputation and his visibility, and established himself as a national political figure. I wonder if you can talk about that. Not just about Trump, but how that works more generally. And the guy answers, yes, I confess that I too was thinking about Donald Trump when writing that particular section of the paper. Oh, it's just like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's
so
incredible.
Trump was using falsehood as dominance, signals of dominance, to declare how he's a alpha male or something. It's just like the weirdest convoluted.
Dominated.
He did. And I mean, I guess it's weird though, because they are kind of admitting that it works.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like, oh, it doesn't even matter if it's true or not. It works.
Right.
And it's like, all right, well, okay. I mean, sometimes things, people latch on to crazy theories because there's a lot of weight behind it, and it seems to be true. And it's a scale. It's not all or another. It's every topic falls somewhere on the scale of like super supported by facts and not so supported by facts, but more conjecture. And it's different for each theory or topic. But I like how just evolutionarily it's so disturbing, because it's almost a sign of defeat. It's kind of like a waving the white flag kind of feel to this article. It's like, oh, we're gonna lose the argument because of evolution.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever you say, guys. What a terrifying new theory.
Yeah. All right, one more here.
Yep.
Artificial intelligence.
You want me to take it, or you want to?
I'll just run through it real quick.
Okay.
It's coming from Analytics in. Yeah, man. That's a hard URL. Analyticsindiamag.com. The headline is, in a first, an invention by AI granted a patent. The Companies and Intellectual Property Commission of South Africa granted patent to a food container based on fractal geometry invented by Device for Autonomous Bootstrapping of Unified Sentience, or DABUS. DABUS is an AI system developed by Missouri physicist Stephen Thaler. The patent application was filed on September 17, 2019, under the Patent Cooperation Treaty. The application identified DABUS as the inventor of the food container and stated the invention was autonomously generated by an artificial intelligence. Thaler is a pioneer in the field of AI and programming. His DABUS system is classified as a creativity machine capable of independent and complex functioning. Patent applications were filed in the US, Europe, Australia, and South Africa. All except South Africa turned it down. The European Patent Office issued a preliminary communication stating the inventor on a patent application must have legal capacity. Yeah, that makes sense. The United States...
Yeah. I was going to say, this is going to lead to legal capacity of robots.
Yes, the personhood of the robot. Yeah. The United States Patent and Trademark Office, asserted the application data sheet with the patent application did not identify the inventor by its legal name. Thaler has now appealed to the district court for the Eastern District of Virginia, seeking the reversal of UPSTO's decision. The South African Patent Office's decision to grant the patent has come as a surprise to the global community. The reasons for this decision are unknown. However, the whole incident has riled up the intellectual property experts. The critics lampooned the decision, saying AI lacks a legal standing necessary to qualify as an inventor. Many chalked up the granting of the patent to an oversight on the part of the commission, and a few see it as an indictment of South Africa's patent procedures. Dun, dun, dun. Interesting how this article, at least, now there's an Indian outlet, so I don't know what the sort of socio-political relationship between India and South Africa are. However, with the recent South African riots going on, it was revealed that there is some serious racism between black South Africans and Indians. They really hate Indians down there. And a couple of Indian businessmen were actually sort of singled out during the riots. Just a weird little side note. But so, who knows? Maybe that has something to do with this Indian magazine being mean to South Africa. But this is interesting. So an AI created a box, basically, and it was rejected in all of the patent applications except for South Africa. South Africa granted it, but the key is down at the bottom where the inventor of the AI is appealing based on the decision in South Africa. So the big news here is the precedent setting of the South African office, not just to grant patents. That's sort of what this story hinges around, but it goes to what you pointed out: the personhood, the legal entity-ness of an artificial intelligence. This very well could be a seed that grows into the legal entity-ness of an artificial intelligence, which is the personhood of robots, which also plays into the autonomous vehicle conversation. Who's responsible if an autonomous vehicle makes a mistake? If the vehicle itself is a legal entity, then you can put the toaster in jail. If not, you got to get humans involved. So I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I think that's the bigger picture here is the fight towards the legal personhood of AI.
Yeah, and it's interesting that South Africa, if I didn't mistake in this thing, South Africa was the only one that accepted this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. South Africa is the location, the setting of a movie from 2015 called Chappie.
Oh, Chappie.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And Chappie, it was the cool, hip robot renegade that becomes cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
not sure you saw Chappie. But...
I did see it. It's been a while though. 6 years ago.
Cop? I thought he was a cop.
I think he was kind of he towed the line. I mean, in the end, what was interesting was spoiler alert, but basically some of the human friends that he had were uploaded into the machine. They were uploaded into the robot, so you could hang with them forever, kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
But that because that leads to the argument of these robots have souls. They have human souls, and so in that regard, I think this is interesting. That they're the same as humans. They can invent things. Another
interesting fact that it came from the South African patent place is it is Elon Musk's homeland.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There's some connections here, man.
Yeah, we'll see if Elon explodes.
It's a seed. It's the seed of the personhood of robots.
Fractals out into a ever-burgeoning flower of artificial intelligent robot goodness, demon master.
Interesting how they do point out the fractal mathematics.
Yeah.
It's very like new agey.
Super new agey. There you go.
All right. Well, you have anything else?
That's it for me. We got tons of stories in the what is it called? I always forget what I call it. Additional stories section.
Wow, yes, that complicated category that you invented.
I know. And also for those of you who are still listening, the email with episode 373 to 375 show notes will go out later today. So,
yay. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That's another episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Remember, we'll be back on Wednesday the 18th. So put it on your calendar, set your notifications. Don't miss a thing, folks. And remember to head over to CanaryCry.Party and subscribe all over the place because you never know when we'll disappear from your favorite outlet there. And remember, we will need some producers for Wednesday's show. So if you enjoyed what you saw here and you want to become a part of keeping the show going. We are only able to continue doing the work thanks to the generosity and the commitment of our producer. So if you've never produced before and you're wondering, why do these people, contribute their time, their talent, and their treasure to this podcast? What in the world are they experiencing? Why don't you become a producer and feel the joy of supporting something that you believe should continue? And I want to thank our producers for this episode 376 of Canary Cry News Talk. Those producers are Mark S., Watchman with Uriel, Sir Egorius, Knight of the Squatting Slavs, who is our executive producer, and our associate executive producer, Aaron J., John K., Cherie H., Rebecca B., Sir Casey the Shield Knight, Christian N., J.C., Saul A., Sir Sigurd the Beast, Veronica D., Kim W., Gail M., Ciara, Soylent Green, oh, that's Mr. Green, Ciara, and Dalton H., and of course, thank you to our time stampers, Christine C., and to all of our artists and creatives as well. Couldn't do it without you, creatives. And so if you want to join the Cool Kid Club, go ahead and produce next episode on Wednesday. And you can do that in a few different ways. Of course, you can support the show by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT. It's patreon.com/CCNT. Or even better, you can head on over to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
Woo, that's right. But there's all sorts of ways you can support the show, not just financially. So if that's not in the cards for you, you can go ahead and support the show with your creativity, your artistry. If you're a creative person, go ahead and create some art, whether it be graphic art or drawing or music or jingles, whatever it is. Go ahead and create something for the show. We'll feature it on the show. Send that to CanaryCryRadio@gmail.com if you like it easy, or CanaryCryRadio@protonmail.com if you like to keep it secret. That's right. We appreciate all of our creative people and can't wait to see what you folks come up with next. You can also support the show by leaving your ratings and reviews. Very important. I know it sounds trite, it sounds silly, but it is much more important than you might be thinking right now, and we appreciate it very much. And it's easy. It only takes a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, literally. If you have an Apple device, go ahead and search Apple Podcasts on your device, any device, no matter what it is. It's a little purple icon. Click on that, search for Canary Cry News Talk, and leave a rating and a review. I will be reading them live on the air on Friday. It's fun. It's flirty. It helps out the show. And I must read whatever you write, unless it's a bad word, in which case I'll replace it with my large vocabulary of bad word replacements. But other than that, you can also support the show by sharing the show. It's simple. Just share it out. Share it on your social media. Put it on your Facebook. Email it to a friend. Print it out on a papyrus scroll and bury it in a tomb for archaeologists to find hundreds of years from now. Whatever it may be, just sharing the show. The word of mouth is the best way to share the show, because people trust you. People trust what you have to say. If you're recommending something to them, you've got your reputation behind it. And as the Bible says, the reputation is a very valuable thing. But you can also share it. How else can we share it? What did I say? Social media. I said the tomb thing. What else do I use? Oh, you just share it directly with people. Yeah. If you need any more, we call it rattling cages. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You just walk right up to them. You grab them by the cage. Then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Any last words, Gonzo?
Thank you for being here for episode 376. I have daughter asking me for money, so I must go now.
Ah, we must go. That's where your support dollars are going, folks. Keeping the kids alive.
Inflation through children.
She's 3 years old and she's already asking for money.
Oh, no. The older one is asking
I
for
know.
money.
I just thought it'd be funnier if she was money, Daddy. Give me money, Daddy. All right, everybody. Remember, we'll be back on Wednesday. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time, but until then, think outside the cage. Money, Daddy.
I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do hug people, men and women. I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street. I do it with everyone.
State and federal health officials.
Come on, man. Feed him more.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Where are the aliens?
We're made by the aliens. I do it with everyone. Billions.
Billions. Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact.
Aliens.
Fun fact.
State and federal health officials.
Another fun fact.
Aliens.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Come on, man. Give me a break.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo.
We're all gonna die.
You in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
Demonic power!
I'll keep the cameras on now in my people's zoo. You in my people's zoo.
I do it with everyone.
State and federal health officials.
We need a great reset. Aborted feces.
We're all gonna die.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Oxygen.
Make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Everybody loves waffles.
In my people's zoo.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths!